Chapter 1071. Late at night, outside Wanshur City, Wang Kai was dressed in a white robe, holding a folding fan in his hand. His expression was rather confident as he walked through the air. Why did you arrive later than me? On a small hill, Bai Yu was wearing a long green dress. Her figure was graceful and caused people to have wild and fanciful thoughts, especially her beautiful face. Under the illumination of the moonlight, she was even more enchanting. However, at this moment, while Bai Yu was shy, she was also in a bad mood. When she arrived, Wang Kai was not even outside the city. Instead, she had to wait for an hour before Wang Kai appeared. She was very clear that she had to give everything she had to meet Wang Kai in the middle of the night. However, who knew that Wang Kai was not the least bit anxious about it? It was as if it was not necessary. I drank too much wine just now, so I came a little late. Sorry for neglecting the beauty, Buzz. As Wang Kai floated down and sat cross-legged on the hill, he stretched out his hand and pulled Bai Yu into his embrace. His hand even landed on her breasts, where it should not be placed. Why are you so anxious now? I am not ready yet. Bai Yu blushed as she felt Wang Kai's warm hand on her chest. Her heart immediately thumped, especially his hand, which was constantly moving. Bai Yu was so embarrassed that she clenched her teeth. She was so ashamed that she could not show her face. You are not ready yet? F***CK. If you are not ready tonight, don't blame Ben Xiao for being merciless and destroying a beautiful flower like you. Rip. As soon as his voice fell, Wang Kai moved. In a few moves, he tore Bai Yu's dress into pieces. In the blink of an eye, she was completely naked. Under the moonlight, Wang Kai's breathing instantly quickened as he admired the beautiful body in front of him. Bai Yu was even more embarrassed and furious. However, at this point, there was no turning back. She could only tightly purse her red lips and stand there, not knowing where to cover with her slender hands. Her eyes were filled with embarrassment and anger. Be gentler. Soon after, Wang Kai, who could not resist, pounced on her like a hungry tiger pouncing on its prey. As waves of low moans sounded out under the moonlight outside the city, a beautiful symphony was playing out. Wang Kai and Bai Yu, who were engaged in an intense battle, did not notice a graceful figure standing in the darkness in the distance. A pair of beautiful eyes that were filled with anger, was staring at them. Damned little bitch, damned Wang Kai, you bastard. You two really did get together. Look at how slutty you are. Ishu tightly pursed her red lips. Her pretty eyes were filled with fury. However, as she continued to watch, she began to feel her entire body heat up. Her delicate, jade-like hands were involuntarily placed on her body as they wandered around. She had been trained by Wang Kai so much that she could not control herself when she saw this. Why did you stop? Suddenly, Wang Kai, who was halfway through, suddenly paused. Bai Yu, who was in the midst of pleasure and had just learned how to enjoy, immediately moaned in displeasure. Wait, someone is peeping. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and looked playfully at Ishu. What? Swoosh. When these words were spoken, Bai Yu was so frightened that her face turned deathly pale. The previous lust immediately disappeared and was replaced by infinite fear. She hurriedly pushed Wang Kai away and took her clothes to cover her body. Don't panic. The person peeping is your sister. Ha. Since you're here, let's do it together. Buzz. Wang Kai laughed heartily. He raised his hand and beckoned. Ishu, who had been enjoying herself, was directly pulled over. Wang Kai, you big bastard. Ishu, who had been exposed, immediately cried out in alarm. However, no matter how much she resisted, in the end, it was all for naught. Bai Yu was also extremely ashamed and resentful. Together with Ishu, she served Wang Kai. Master, your complexion seems to be very good. What exactly happened yesterday? The next day in a restaurant, the Dog King grinned and glanced at Bai Yu and Ishu, who were sitting on the left and right of Wang Kai. He chuckled in a low voice, as if he was asking the obvious. In response, whether it was Bai Yu or Ishu, both of them glared at him angrily. It's nothing. Bai Yu has already agreed to go to the central region with Ben Xiao. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a rather indifferent smile. In his mind, the beautiful events of last night were still faintly echoing. The two women served him together. How could such a joyous event disappear just like that? Even if Baiyu did not agree, he had to forcefully bring her along. It seems that the patriarch of the Shi family is happy. However, he will also be more disappointed. The Dog King grinned and said with a mischievous smile, "We have kept our position as the overlord of the stone domain, but we have also lost the opportunity to develop in the central region." How sad. The invisible giant scratched his head and sighed. In response, Baiyu rolled her beautiful eyes and said with a faint smile, "The Shi family will not get the overlord of the stone domain or the opportunity to go to the central region." Swoosh. Hearing this, the Dog King and the invisible giant were stunned. The fire Xingyuan spirit also froze. It was also stunned. What did she mean? Did she mean that Wang Kai wanted to destroy the Shi family? My good sister spent a lot of effort last night to make Wang Kai agree to let the Bai family be the overlord of the stone domain. At the same time, he will only take her to the central region. Ishu blinked her beautiful eyes and snorted with displeasure. Although she had served Wang Kai with Baiyu last night, the relationship between the two of them was just that. They were still in a state of competition. Why is that? Is there a grudge between the Bai family and the Shi family? The Dog King asked, puzzled. The invisible giant was also stunned. They were all extremely puzzled by Baiyu's ruthlessness in exterminating them. There isn't much of a grudge. It's just that when we go to the central region, even with Wang Kai's help, the realm of the experts in the Bai family will not be able to catch up to the experts in the central region in a short period of time. Even if we have the status, it's just a name. Since that's the case, it's better to develop slowly in the stone domain, Baiyu said indifferently. Hearing this, the Dog King and the invisible giant looked at each other and suddenly understood. After all this time, Baiyu was also afraid that the Bai family would suffer a greater blow after Wang Kai left. After all, it was utterly impossible for a casual person like Wang Kai to stay in the central territory for long. The pitiful Shi family won't be able to get anything now. The invisible giant scratched his head and laughed in a muffled voice. I'm sure the head of the Shi family will cry in a corner after hearing this news. The Dog King grinned and said speechlessly, "No, he already knows. He's not crying in a corner, but he's stunned." The fire Xingyuan spirit suddenly spoke and condensed an arm out of flames. He pointed at an elder opposite him and laughed. Swoosh! The Dog King and the invisible giant turned around and saw that the head of the Shi family was already stunned at the staircase. He was frozen there as if he had been turned into stone. Chapter 1072. Young Master Wang, you can't trick me like this. Plop. The master of the Shi family knelt on the ground, his face full of sorrow and grievance. He was already sad enough that he had lost the opportunity to develop in the central region. Now, it was like adding frost to snow. He couldn't even keep his position as the overlord of the stone region. Who tricked you? This young master didn't cheat you. Furthermore, this young master didn't take your Shi family's divine spirit, nor did I take any benefits from your Shi family. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said casually. Swoosh! The master of the Shi family became even more sorrowful and didn't reply. Indeed, if it didn't give him any benefits, why would he care about his life or death? Could it be that there were really good people in the cultivation world who liked to meddle in other people's business? Was this possible? Even the master of the Shi family didn't believe it himself. Isn't it a little bad? Seeing the master of the Shi family so sad and tearful, Baiyu felt pity for him and suddenly felt that she had gone too far. She couldn't possibly push the Shi family into the abyss for her own benefit, right? Sometimes people were like this. In the beginning, they would do anything to achieve their goals, but after they got what they wanted, they would think of other things. For example, kindness, sympathy, and so on. Wang Kai was extremely disdainful of this. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have done it in the first place. Previously, he couldn't wait to step on the Shi family. Now that he had stepped on them, he still wanted to sympathize with them. After all, the master of the Shi family was an overlord and an ancient sage. How could he accept such infuriating sympathy? Miss Bai, please be merciful. However, the master of the Sure family's next move made Wang Kai's mouth twitch violently. He had just thought that the master of the Sure family would be proud and arrogant. After so long, he even took the initiative to plead for mercy. Why don't we bring him to the central region? Bai Yu pursed her red lips, and her beautiful eyes were filled with pity. Wang Kai pursed his lips. In the end, he was still the one who was in trouble. When the time comes, I could take the opportunity to turn all of them into the Bai family subordinates. Wouldn't it be a pity to waste these powerful people? However, Wang Kai's face stiffened when he heard Bai Yu's voice transmission. He couldn't help but turn around and look at her in shock. Who would have thought that this little girl's true motive wasn't sympathy or pity at all, but to take the opportunity to take the Sure family head under her wing? Damn, brilliant. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders. He did not mind as long as Bai Yu had the ability. As for the Sure clan, he did not want to go overboard. Thinking about this, he nodded and said, "Okay, this matter is settled. Go back and gather the Sure clan members. Later, follow me to the central region." Master Wang, and thank you, Madam Wang." Hearing this, the head of the Sure family was extremely grateful. He was overjoyed and bowed his head to express his thanks. Bai Yu was especially happy when she heard Wang Lin address her as Madam Wang. However, Wang Kai had a different feeling when he heard Wang Lin's words. Stupid guy. He was tricked, and he still wants to thank the other party. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed speechlessly. The Yi family also wants to develop in the central region. Suddenly, Yi Shu, who was already displeased with Bai Yu, directly spoke. Furthermore, she glared at Bai Yu with her beautiful eyes. Her provocation was self-evident. Let's see who's more capable." Bai Yu snorted. "Then I'll see you tonight." Yi Shu pursed her red lips, not to be outdone as she angrily rebuked. "See you tonight?" The Dog King and the invisible giant looked at each other and smiled. They naturally understood what they were talking about. They could not help but look at Wang Kai with envy and admiration in their eyes. Hee, looks like Ben Xiao is going to have a good time tonight. Let's do it. The more intense you do it, the more Ben Xiao will like it. Wang Kai stroked his chin and smiled proudly. Dog King, hurry up and tell me the transfiguration secret technique. If this goes on, Master's heart and body will be taken away by them. The Fire Xingyuan spirit said worriedly through telepathy. The Dog King glanced at the Fire Xingyuan spirit. He didn't expect the Fire Xingyuan spirit to be so anxious. However, he thought about it and replied, "I can tell you, but you have to find a beautiful woman for the Prince of Dogs." The Dog King couldn't wait any longer when he saw that Wang Kai had obtained both wealth and beauty. As Wang Kai's subordinate, how could he not have a beautiful woman to accompany him? He didn't like eavesdropping every day. The Dog King gave up on the idea of getting revenge on the Fire Xingyuan spirit. The Fire Xingyuan spirit would turn into a beautiful woman sooner or later. When that time came, he would definitely win Wang Kai's favor. If he were to trick him now, he would definitely suffer in the future. Since that was the case, he might as well help him. "All right, I will definitely find you a beautiful woman. Just you wait." The Fire Xingyuan spirit agreed without hesitation. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a ray of red light and disappeared. The Dog King was extremely excited when he saw this. The Fire Xingyuan spirit was so straightforward. If he were to trick him again, wouldn't he be a dog? What were you guys discussing just now? What did the Fire Xingyuan spirit do? Wang Kai frowned and asked in confusion. In response, the Dog King grinned and said, "The Fire Xingyuan spirit insisted on introducing a beautiful woman to the Prince of Dogs. The Prince of Dogs couldn't refuse." Whoosh! As soon as he said this, black lines appeared on Wang Kai's forehead. He didn't need to think to guess that the Dog King must have reached an agreement with the Fire Xingyuan spirit regarding the transformation technique. At the same time, he was very curious. What kind of beautiful woman would the Fire Xingyuan spirit find? Not good. The Dog King and the Fire Xingyuan spirit seemed to want to reconcile. This is too disadvantageous for me. At the same time, The invisible giant scratched his head. He was very worried. He had always wanted to suppress the Dog King and the fire Xingyuan spirit. He didn't want to see them wallow in the mire together. Otherwise, he would always be below the two of them. As the first to follow Wang Kai, the invisible giant naturally couldn't take this line down. Brother Dog, I'll go find you a beautiful woman too. As soon as the invisible giant finished speaking, he quickly ran out of the restaurant. In response, the Dog King was very happy. He said proudly, "Hee hee, 2 women serving 1 man. The beautiful days of the Prince of Dogs have finally arrived." It's not good to snatch women like this, right? Baiyu frowned and snorted in displeasure. That's right. When the time comes, if she doesn't want to follow you, don't force her. Ishu agreed. As a woman, she naturally didn't want to see other women being forced to become the Dog King's concubine. In response, Wang Kai also had the same thoughts. He nodded and said, "Love depends on fate. If fate comes, everything will be there. Remember, don't force it. Learn from Ben Xiao and be loyal to love." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Chapter 1073. Be more loyal to love? Hearing this, the Dog King was speechless. He couldn't help but glance at Baiyu and Ishu. Which of these 2 beauties had anything to do with love? Similarly, Ishu and Baiyu also felt very awkward. Wang Kai didn't seem to mind. He shrugged casually and smiled faintly. Dog King, learn from Ben Xiao. Remember, don't do anything that offends the heavens, especially things like forcing yourself on beauties. That's a sin. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. A sin, forcing yourself on beauties. The Dog King almost fainted on the spot. Whether it was Ishu or Baiyu, which one of them didn't force themselves on them? But if it was fate, then it really was fate. After all, they had met each other. In the entire chaotic realm, beauties were as common as clouds. Why didn't they get together with others? The Dog King really thought deeply about the logic behind this. Yes, Master is right. It really depends on fate. Just like the fire, Xingyuan spirit, and the invisible giant, they snatched beauties back for the Prince of Dogs. Isn't that fate? Otherwise, out of all the beauties in the world, why would 2 of them be snatched back by them? The Dog King suddenly realized and laughed loudly. Black lines appeared on the foreheads of Wang Kai and the other 2. For a moment, they couldn't be bothered with him. They were really speechless. After all, Baiyu, Ishu, and Wang Kai's relationship was just that. Your beauties. Buzz. Suddenly, as the fire Xingyuan spirit's voice rang out, a ball of fire floated into the restaurant. Seeing this, the Dog King instantly widened his eyes and stared closely at the ball of fire. At the same time, Wang Kai and the other 2 also looked over in surprise. As the flame gradually dissipated, the figure within it appeared, and the entire place fell silent. Woof, woof, woof. Within the firelight, there was a white puppy. It was furry all over and was barking nonstop with its big, watery eyes. F***CK. The Dog King could not hold it in any longer and cursed out loud. He had never thought that the Fire Saint Yuan Ling would find him a dog. What do you mean? Was this a beauty? Is that so? The Dog King roared in displeasure. You are a dog. If I don't find a dog for you, am I supposed to find a human? Regarding this, the Fire Xingyuan spirit was also very angry. After spending a lot of effort, it finally managed to find an extremely good-looking female dog from the city. Yet, in the end, the Dog King was actually very displeased. Ha ha, hee hee. Seeing this, Wang Kai, Ishu, and Baiyu couldn't help but laugh out loud. They couldn't help but give the Fire Xingyuan spirit a thumbs up at the same time. Fine. Fire Xingyuan spirit, you better remember this for the Prince of Dogs. Remember this. The Dog King was so choked that he couldn't refute it. He could only grit his teeth and speak harshly. Seeing this, the Fire Xingyuan spirit was also enraged. Rather annoyed, it snorted coldly and said, "Hurry up and keep your beauty. Then give me the secret transformation technique. Keep your ass. Woof, woof, woof." Suddenly, before the Dog King could curse, the white puppy was already close to the Dog King. It stuck out its tongue and licked the Dog King's face. It looked like it was trying to get close to the Dog King, but it also looked like it was asking for help. Seeing this, the Dog King became even more annoyed. He already had the face of a husky, and now that he was angry, it was simply unbearable. His facial expression looked as if it was cramping, and it was as funny as it could get. "Brother Dog, I found your beauty for you." Whoosh! As the invisible giant's voice sounded, he appeared in the line of sight with a pretty girl in a long golden dress, who could be called a pretty girl from a humble family. You're really my good little brother." Seeing this, the Dog King was instantly overjoyed. He couldn't wait to kiss the invisible giant a few times. Compared to the dog that the fire Shenyuan spirit had found, this real beauty was like heaven and earth. Wang Kai and the others were also a little stunned. They never thought that the invisible giant would really bring back a human beauty, and she was quite pretty. Go over there. Brother Dog will be your groom, and you will be his bride." The invisible giant scratched his head proudly and said to the girl in a muffled voice, "Let your mother be the bride. I'm here to find my dog." Oomph. Suddenly, the girl snorted coldly and glanced at the invisible giant with disgust. She went forward and picked up the white puppy, then left angrily in the blink of an eye. Hua Guang had been chasing the fire Shenyuan spirit all the way to this restaurant, but halfway there, he was forcefully brought here by the invisible giant. Fortunately, he had found the dog. For a moment, the invisible giant was stunned on the spot. The Dog King was also stunned on the spot. Wang Kai and the others looked at each other, speechless. "Now you can't even get the dog, right? Oomph. Serves you right for being greedy. Hurry up and give me the secret transformation technique." The fire Xingyuan spirit sneered disdainfully. "You can't even get the dog." The Dog King instantly grimaced, especially when he looked at the invisible giant again. He wanted to tear him apart. He thought it was a beautiful woman, but after all this time, she was here to find the dog. "I don't have the secret technique, but I want your life. If you talk any more nonsense, be careful that the Prince of Dogs will expose your plan." The Dog King raised his head and snorted angrily. Whoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, Wang Kai's heart jerked. If Ishu and Bai Yu were to find out that Fire Saint's origin spirit had transformed into human form for the sake of seducing me, then wouldn't the world fall into chaos at that time? At the same time, the Fire Xingyuan spirit was very afraid. If Bai Yu and Ishu found out about its plan, it would be extremely difficult for it to transform successfully. Based on the personalities of those two women, they would definitely interfere and cause trouble. The Sure family is here. Let's go, don't delay. At the same time, Wang Kai hurriedly said and pointed at the Sure family outside the restaurant. "I haven't been to the central region even once. I haven't been there either. I don't know what it's like." Bai Yu and Ishu murmured with longing. On the other hand, the Dog King, the Fire Xingyuan spirit, and the invisible giant did not care. "Young Master Wang, for the sake of convenience, I only brought people above the sage realm. A total of 63 people and one ancient sage." Outside the restaurant, the patriarch of the Sure family said respectfully with cupped fists. Hearing this, Wang Kai gently nodded his head. His gaze swept across them one by one before finally landing on First Elder Sure Tian Nan's body. Even now, he was still unconscious and carried on a stretcher. "Let's go to the 100 Formations region. From there, we will be transported to the central region." Chapter 1074. There's no need to go to the 100 Formation realm. I've already prepared the teleportation formation and have been waiting for a long time. Just as Wang Kai and the others were about to move, the middle-aged Taoist suddenly appeared in front of them. Looking at the many strong cultivators behind Wang Kai, the middle-aged Taoist nodded to himself. How long had it been since they came to the Stone Realm? Not only had they subdued the Fire Xingyuan spirit, but they'd also gained the support of the number one overlord clan in the Stone Realm, the Sure family. There were 63 strong cultivators. Including the head of the Sure family, there were 64. Among them, there were 2 ancient sages and 62 great sages. Such a force could be considered an overlord even in the central region. If Wang Kai's great sage strength was included, they wouldn't just be an overlord. They'd undoubtedly become one of the top forces in the central region. Old Taoist, you're quite good at timing. Aren't you tired of following Ben Shao all the time? Wang Kai frowned, speechless. This old Taoist had always thought of himself as an exiled criminal of Kunlun's field. No matter how he explained, he believed him. He wasn't called the ox-nosed Taoist for nothing. He was indeed one-track-minded and very annoying. Of course not. In order to redress the grievances of my ancestor, that's enough. Don't pretend to be benevolent and righteous. Why did your ancestors say that it was for yourself? Before the old Taoist could finish, the Dog King snorted disdainfully. Ishu was also very disdainful. Just like Wang Kai, she didn't like this middle-aged Taoist at all. He was too hypocritical. Haha, I won't explain. The middle-aged Taoist waved his horsetail whisk and smiled faintly. Wang Kai shrugged. Although he didn't want to interact with this old Taoist, his teleportation formation could save him a lot of trouble. It wasn't too much to make use of it. Thinking of this, Wang Kai said faintly, "Since you want to help Ben Shao won't be polite with you. Where's the teleportation formation? Take us there. Please." The middle-aged Taoist's eyes were filled with joy. He hurriedly turned sideways and gestured with his hand. "Master." After Wang Kai and the others walked away, the head of the Shi family cupped his fists and bowed towards the middle-aged cultivator. His attitude was extremely respectful. If it was in the past, the middle-aged Taoist would have ignored him. But now, things are different. After all, she had followed Wang Kai. Naturally, her status would rise with the tide. "Yes, head of the Shi family, you must assist young Master Wang well. The future of the Shi family will be limitless. Maybe in the future, I will need your help." The middle-aged Taoist nodded and smiled amiably. "Ah, I wouldn't dare. The head of the Shi family, who was about to follow Wang Kai after greeting him, was flattered by the middle-aged Taoist's intimate response. Even though he was superior to the middle-aged Taoist in terms of cultivation, he was a formation master. Even the central region had to be polite to him. He was one of the top 3 formation masters in the chaotic realm. Although it was the power of 10 people working together, his status was also frighteningly high. "You're too kind. Head of the Shi family, please." The middle-aged Taoist didn't mind the head of the Shi family's courtesy. He took the initiative to step aside and gestured for the head of the Shi family to go first. Such a situation instantly caused the head of the Shi family to feel extremely honored. He had never thought that he would receive such treatment in front of a famous array master. Thinking of this, the head of the Shi family couldn't help but look at Wang Kai in front of him. He became more and more excited. Maybe in the future, he would really be above all people. "Master, this way, please." But now, the head of the Shi family knew very well that this was just the beginning. He still had to be polite to the middle-aged Taoist. The middle-aged Taoist nodded with a satisfied smile and led the way. The status of a stone gambling master was not lower than that of a formation master. But the head of the Shi family naturally couldn't be mentioned in the same breath as the middle-aged Taoist, who was one of the top 3 formation masters in the chaotic realm. To put it bluntly, the head of the Shi family hadn't reached that level yet. He couldn't even enter the top 10 of all the stone gambling masters in the chaotic realm, let alone the top 3. Outside the Wanshi city, a huge octagonal formation was carved on the ground. Wang Kai and the others arrived. Looking at the transportation formation, they couldn't help sighing inwardly. Such a complicated and profound formation could only be carved by the top 10 formation masters of the 100 formation domain. Moreover, this middle-aged Taoist was only ranked 6th. The top 5 must be even stronger. Forget it, I'd better not practice the formation Tao. As long as I can break the formation, it's enough. As for the transportation, wouldn't it be easier to have someone else do it for me? Wang Kai smiled proudly with his hands behind his back. It would be too tiring to do everything by himself. Of course, when it was time to show off, Wang Kai would naturally try to practice the formation Tao. First, he had to have a reason to show off. Without a beautiful woman, he would be too lazy to practice the formation Tao. It would be very troublesome. Don't tell me you're going to the central region with me? Wang Kai frowned and looked at the middle-aged Taoist speechlessly. He was like a dogskin plaster, determined to follow him. It would be fine if it was a beautiful woman, but it just had to be a stinky old Taoist. Haha, of course. With me around, young Master Wang will be saved a lot of trouble. I can help you with the formation Tao and the actual situation of the central region. The middle-aged Taoist waved his horsetail whisk and smiled faintly. Hearing him trying to show off his abilities, Wang Kai couldn't help but curl his lips. But then again, with such an assistant, it would save him a lot of trouble. Thinking of this, Wang Kai nodded slightly and smiled faintly. Then let's go together. After you. The middle-aged Taoist's face flashed with joy, and he gestured respectfully. Wang Kai was very casual about this. As if it was a matter of course, he took the lead and stepped into the center of the formation. The Dog King, Ishu, Baiyu, and the Sure family followed closely behind. Young Master Wang is indeed very powerful. You can make the formation Tao Master so respectful and willing to follow you everywhere. It seems that the Sure family will be able to gain a foothold in the central region this time. The master of the Sure family was very proud and full of hope. At the same time, he reminded himself and the other Sure family members that they must be loyal to Wang Kai. Naturally, they couldn't lose the protection of such a towering tree. Gu Yuntian, the second best formation Tao in the chaotic realm. The son of Gu Zhen, the weakest of the 10 formation Tao masters in the 100 formation domain. Haha, it seems that I must find this person and ask him what kind of place Kunlun's field is. It would be great if I could go there. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and thought to himself. Chuckling, he activated the formation. There was a flash of light, and when the light dissipated, they were already in the wilderness. Chapter 1075. Oh, where's this place? Can't you pick a better place to teleport to in the middle of nowhere? Wang Kai frowned as he looked around at the barren mountains, yellow sand, and billowing dust. His face was filled with displeasure. Woof, woof, woof. This Taoist is trying to find a deserted place to kill us, isn't he? F***CK. The Dog King shook his head and snorted suspiciously. Ishu, Baiyu, the invisible giant, and the Sure family were all on their guard. The teleportation location was simply too eerie and sinister. A place where no one could be seen was the scariest. No, no, no. Please don't misunderstand. The middle-aged Taoist waved his hand and explained in a gentle voice, You may not know, but the central region is different from the other regions. It is the most powerful region in the chaotic realm. Under normal circumstances, without the permission of the central region, no one is allowed to teleport to the central region. Once discovered, there will be a fatal disaster. Therefore, I chose this barren mountain as the teleportation location. The barren mountain. Hearing this, everyone secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Wang Kai was also quite helpless. However, it had to be said that the primal chaos force contained in the middle region was simply too ferocious. Even in this desolate mountain range, the primal chaos force that filled the place was still boundless. If one practiced here, it would be countless times better than practicing in other regions. Who set such a rule? When Ben Shao sees him, he will definitely change it. Does he really think he is the king of heaven? Does he have to get permission to come to this barren place? Pretentious prick. Wang Kai frowned and snorted unhappily. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Hearing this, Wang Kai's pupil shrank. Was there anyone he could not defeat? Now that he had reached the level 8 of the Great Sage, coupled with the enhancement of his combat power with the divine equipment, he should be invincible in the chaotic realm. But the system had determined that he was just bragging? Was the person who set the rules really that powerful? The person who set this rule is the most powerful domain master in the central region, Venerable Azura. He transformed the chaotic energy into Azura energy, and his combat power is monstrous. He has reached the peak of grade 11 of the Great Sage. I can step into the realm of gods at any time. As the middle-aged Taoist explained, Wang Kai's expression stiffened. The great sage, rank 11? Was he about to step into the realm of gods? The great sage realm actually had an 11th rank? If that was the case, he was now an 8th grade great sage, and he still had to go for the 9th and 10th grades? Isn't the 11th stage, great sage, also within the great sage realm? Can I defeat him with the enhancement of my combat power? Wang Kai frowned and asked, puzzled. Hearing this, the middle-aged Taoist's eyes flickered. Although he did not know how many times Wang Kai's cross-level combat power was, the 11th stage Great Sage realm was not something that could be compensated by the enhancement of one's combat power. Young Master Wang, you may not know this, but the Great Sage realm is at most grade 9. But through cultivation, one can break through to grade 10. This is the enhancement of one's combat power after surpassing the limit once. It cannot be calculated in multiples. No matter how much ability one has to surpass one's level, it cannot be compensated. Moreover, grade 11 surpasses the limit once again. The difference between the two, at this point, the middle-aged Taoist stopped talking. His following words were self-evident. The people present were all shocked by what they heard. However, they were also able to clearly understand what was going on. Surpassing the limit twice, grade 11 of the Great Sage realm. Only one step away from stepping into the realm of gods. The realm of gods. I'm afraid that only Kunlun's field has it. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and thought for a while. Then, he ignored the middle-aged Taoist. Although he initially thought that he was invincible in the chaotic realm, now that he knew that there were 2 more realms above grade 9 of the Great Sage realm, he could not help but feel a little disappointed. But thinking about it carefully, there was no need to care. With the bragging system, he could reach the highest level by bragging a little. Since that was the case, what was there to be afraid of, be it grade 10 of the Great Sage realm or grade 11 of the Great Sage realm? Young Master, what is your purpose in coming to the Central Region? The middle-aged Taoist's eyes flickered as he asked softly. Purpose? Hearing this, Wang Kai shrugged and smiled indifferently. There's no harm in telling you. First, find Guyan Tian and ask him to bring Ben Shao to Kunlun's field where the gods are. Second, dominate the Central Region and bring some of Ben Shao's friends to the Central Region. As for the third, he, of course, is to pick up girls and show off. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone was speechless. The first 2 objectives sounded pretty good, but the last one made people speechless. Who else do you want to pick up? Ishu and Baiyu looked at each other. Their beautiful eyes were filled with displeasure and coldness. In the depths of their hearts, they were already unhappy that they had one more opponent. If Wang Kai picked up a few more girls, wouldn't it be a mess? It's just a joke. Don't take it seriously. Ben Shao has always been loyal. How could he have sex with girls casually? Wang Kai waved his hand and smiled indifferently. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. If young master wants to dominate the Central Region, the first thing you have to deal with is the 4 great clans of the Central Region, as well as the ruler of the Central Region, the Shura Emperor Palace of the Central Region. Of course, there's also the sacred land of arrays and the sacred land of stone gambling. Other than the Shura Emperor Palace, the rulers of the 7 great clans are the rank 10 Great Sage. The master of the Shura Emperor Palace is the strongest realm master, the Shura Emperor, and the rank 11 Great Sage. As the middle-aged Taoist explained the forces of the Central Region, Wang Kai sneered. Shura Emperor Palace, shitty 4 great clans, and shitty 2 Great Sage lands. They're no different from ants in front of Ben Shao. With a casual kick, they'll be gone. Wang Kai sneered with disdain with his hands behind his back. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the rank 9 Great Sage realm. Host, Wang Kai occupation, Chaotic Warrior, Array Breaker rank, Great Sage, rank 9 cultivation method, Divine Connection, Daluo Vajra body, Divine Connection, Chaotic Million Array, Portrait Martial Technique, Divine Connection, Hint of the Void, divine connection, array breaker technique equipment. Divine connection, chaotic sky-swallowing halberd the power of God. Divine connection eye technique. Divine connection. Torch dragons, eye bragging points. 6,800 experience. 02000000. After hearing the notification and seeing the system page in front of him, Wong Kai was dumbfounded. It's increased to 200,000 experience points in one go? Does this mean that Bin Xiao has to brag 20 times to break through to the rank 10 Great Sage realm? How much does he have to brag about when he reaches the rank 11 Great Sage realm? Does he have to be so ruthless? Wong Kai's face darkened, and he was speechless. Chapter 1076. Wong Kai, what's the matter with you? You don't look well. Ishu and Baiyu looked at Wong Kai worriedly. He was in high spirit a moment ago, but now he looked terrible. The corner of Wong Kai's mouth twitched. How was he going to tell them about some things? Damn it, I had to brag 20 times to reach the 10th grade Great Sage. I'm afraid it's impossible for me to dominate the central region. Wong Kai was furious. He wanted to go to the Kunlun realm to see the ancient gods. Who would have thought that it was still too early? For example, Fuxi, Niuhua, Pangu, and so on. They were all mythical figures. Wong Kai always wanted to get close to them, especially his favorite 7 fairies, Chong, Yi, and so on. Who knew? He might even be able to jump a rubber band with the 7 fairies. Actually, young master, you don't have to worry too much. If you are willing, I can go to the sacred ground of arrays and fight for the position of sacred ground master for you. What the hell? Sacred ground master? Before the middle-aged Taoist finished speaking, Wong Kai frowned and interrupted him with a cold smile. What a joke. This middle-aged Taoist was an array master and was ranked in the top 3 in the entire Chaos realm. He must have a lot to do with the sacred ground of arrays in the central region. He fought for the position of sacred ground master for Lin Fan. Maybe he wanted to join the sacred ground of arrays. Of course, he wanted Lin Fan to bring them to the Kunlun realm to show off. If they were just showing off, it would be fine. Unfortunately, they were too selfish. Wong Kai couldn't be bothered to get close to such people. There's no need. Bin Xiao created his own sect called Distant Sect. In less than 7 days, Bin Xiao will bring all the big shots of the sect to the central region. At that time, it will be too easy to unify the central region. Wong Kai shrugged and smiled indifferently. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Distant Sect? And the existence of so many giant hands? Everyone was extremely shocked when they heard this. They secretly thought that since Wong Kai was already so formidable, then wouldn't the big hand he spoke of not be weak either? If all of them were to come over, the central region would not be able to do anything to them. Let's go. Let's go to the center of the central region. What's that place called? Lead the way. Wong Kai shrugged and said with a calm smile. Of course, it's the Shura Imperial City. It's extremely far from here. If we travel at full speed, it'll take us a month to get there, the middle-aged Taoist said with a faint smile. Shura Imperial City? Was it named by the Azura sovereign? F***CK. Wong Kai curled his lips in disdain. When he stepped into the 11th grade Great Sage realm, what was there to be afraid of? 1 month later. In the center of the central region, within the Azura Emperor City, Wong Kai and the others were travel-worn. Even though they were powerful martial artists, they were extremely tired and impatient after a month of continuous travel. No, I want to have a good rest. Let's find an inn. Ishu and Baiyu both stretched their waists. Their beautiful bodies that could drive people crazy were fully displayed, causing many passers-by to gulp down mouthfuls of saliva. Wong Kai was also interested in this. His tiredness instantly disappeared. Other than wanting to have some fun, there was nothing else. Okay. Let's find an inn. Why do you want to go to an inn? 2 beautiful ladies. Why don't you come to my house and have a rest? Suddenly, before Wong Kai could finish his words, a chuckle was heard. Wong Kai and the others turned their heads and were surprised to see a young master slowly walking over with more than a dozen burly men in warrior clothes. Seeing this, the middle-aged Taoist frowned slightly. He sent a message to Wang Kai and said, "This person should be a disciple of the Zhang family, one of the four great families. Judging from the cultivators behind him, he should be a direct descendant of the Zhang family. What are the four great families?" Hearing this, Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly. He didn't expect this young Master Casanova to be everywhere. It was as if he saw his old self in him. Unfortunately, back then, he was very awesome, but this kid was undoubtedly an idiot. Are they all guards of the ancient sage realm? TSK, TSK. There is even a sage among them. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled playfully. Ishu and Baiyu glanced at each other. Then, they blinked their beautiful eyes at the same time and looked at the young man from the Zhang family who was walking over. They smiled disdainfully and said, "Go home and have fun with your mother." Whoosh. Once those words were said, the crowd was startled. Even Wang Kai was dumbstruck on the spot. Never had he imagined that Ishu and Baiyu would be this valiant. Looking at the young man from the Zhang family, he was frozen on the spot. "Young master, these two B asterisk cheese are insulting you again." "Shut up. Don't you think I can't tell? Do I need you to translate?" The young man from the Zhang family reprimanded angrily. He turned and walked to Wang Kai. Holding the folding fan in his hand, he patted Wang Kai's chest and said calmly, "You are blocking Ben Xiao's way. Can you get lost?" Such a scene caused the people behind Wang Kai to swallow their saliva. Even the Dog King and the Invisible Giant could not help but look at the young man from the Zhang family in admiration. They secretly praised him for his courage. "Oh, you are very interesting. You want Ben Xiao to get out of the way? Is that so?" Wang Kai squinted his eyes and said with a playful smile, "Ben Xiao." Hearing this, the young man from the Zhang family was shocked. He looked at Wang Kai from head to toe and sneered disdainfully. "Where did this poor boy come from? How dare you call yourself Ben Xiao? You're the young master of Spring Breeze House, right? Ha ha! Ha ha!" Once those words left his mouth, the Zhang clan's attendants all burst into loud laughter. Spring Breeze House was a famous place in Shura Imperial City. Not only were there beautiful ladies, but there were also good-looking young masters. The men went to Spring Breeze House to find beautiful ladies to have fun with. As for the women, they went to Spring Breeze House to have fun with their young masters. How could Wang Kai, who used to be a playboy, not know the intricacies of this? Do you believe that Ben Xiao will send you to that so-called Spring Breeze House to be a young master? Wang Kai shrugged and said with a faint smile, "All right, stop acting tough. Get out of here before this young master gets angry." "Oh, right, and your two beauties, this young master wants them," the young man from the Zhang family said impatiently. As he said this, he suddenly raised his folding fan and fiercely swung it at Wang Kai. "Bastard, you dare to touch anyone? Don't you have eyes? Look at the cultivation level of the people behind the young master." Bang! Suddenly, the middle-aged Taoist scolded and waved his horsetail whisk. The young man from the Zhang family was sent flying back while vomiting blood. He crashed into the circle of followers of the Zhang family. Chapter 1077. You bastard! Cough, cough! The young master of the Zhang family, who seemed to have suffered a heavy blow, suddenly flew into a rage. Just as he was about to scold Shi Yin, he spat out another mouthful of blood, and his face turned red. Young master, there's something strange about this brat. Even the weakest cultivator behind him is a sage and great sage. I can't even tell the cultivation level of two of them. They should be ancient sage. A sage realm follower carefully helped the young master of the Zhang family up and whispered in his ear. "What?" Hearing this, the young master of the Zhang family suddenly turned pale with fright. He quickly widened his eyes and looked at the people of the Shi family, and finally fixed his gaze on Wang Kai. He never thought that this young man, who looked very ordinary, would have such a powerful follower. An ancient sage realm follower was an elder in the Zhang family. Why would he be a follower of a young master and guard him at all times? "Kid, do you want to be a young master in Chunfeng House? Ben Xiao can help you." Wang Kai squinted his eyes and smiled indifferently. Hearing this, the young master of the Zhang family suddenly trembled. He was not as strong as Wang Kai, so he was not stupid enough to contradict him. It's nothing. It was a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. Brother, may I know your name? Can we get to know each other? The young master of the Zhang family's expression changed greatly. He stood up and cupped his fist in a friendly manner. Even if he wanted by Yu and Ishu, he did not even dare to look at them now, lest he angered Wang Kai and be sent to Chun Feng House to be a young master. At that time, it would be embarrassing. Misunderstanding? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and looked at him playfully. He smiled faintly and said, "Do you think it's a misunderstanding just because you say so?" Ben Xiao doesn't think it's a misunderstanding. What do you think we should do about this? As soon as he said this, young Master Zhang's face stiffened. He didn't need to think to know that this was the beginning of an unfriendly situation. Brat, I call you brother because I think highly of you. Don't think too highly of yourself. This is the Azura Imperial City, and I, Zhang Qianren, am a direct descendant of the Zhang clan, one of the 4 great clans. Do you know the significance of the 4 great clans? Said the young master of the Zhang clan coldly. Since there was no way to settle this peacefully, he could only use force. Otherwise, wouldn't they be at a disadvantage this time? Oh, the Zhang family, one of the 4 big families, one of the 7 strongest forces in the entire chaotic realm, right? Wang Kai shrugged and asked with a faint smile. Patter. Exactly. Hearing this, young Master Zhang was delighted. He opened his folding fan and said proudly, I didn't expect you to know so much. Since you know, you should know what to do, right? Then what do you want Ben Xiao to do? Wang Kai smiled with great interest. Nonsense, of course. Kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake. Before young Master Zhang could speak, the Sage Realm follower beside him had already reprimanded him. Bullshit. You still have to ask him to hand over the 2 beauties. Young Master Zhang snorted with displeasure. Yes. The Sage Realm follower came to his senses and roared again. Kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake, and hand over the 2 beauties so that my young master can have some fun. I can spare your lives. Spare your life. Dog King, tear him apart. Wang Kai furrowed his brows and said impatiently, Woof, woof, woof. To be honest, the Prince of Dogs really doesn't want to deal with these fools. But there's no other way. There are too many people in this world who rely on their status to be so arrogant. Swoosh. Suddenly, the Dog King leaped, and in the blink of an eye, it was in front of the Sage Realm burly man. It waved its sharp white claws and slapped down on the burly man's head. F***CK. Even a dog is at the Sage Realm, and it's at the peak of the Sage Realm. Bang! Crack! Before the Sage Realm follower could finish his sentence, his body had already exploded from the Dog King's slap. The rain of blood, bone fragments, and other things all fell onto young Master Zhang's body, causing him to be completely dumbfounded. Kid, don't be afraid. Continue to act tough. The Prince of Dogs loves to see you act tough. The Dog King waved its claws and flung the blood on the ground. It stared at young Master Zhang and grinned. Such a situation caused young Master Zhang's face to turn ghastly pale. He subconsciously raised his hand and wiped the bloodstains on his face. Young Master Zhang, what do you think we should do about this? Ben Xiao didn't hear you clearly just now. Can you say it again? Wang Kai smiled faintly with his hands behind his back. Whoosh! Young Master Zhang's body trembled, and he swallowed his saliva. He forced a smile and said, We'll do as you say. We'll do as you say. We'll do as you say. Until now, young Master Zhang finally understood that the young man in front of him did not put the Zhang family in his eyes at all. From the beginning to the end, he was playing with him like a monkey. Take off your clothes and run 3 laps around Shura Imperial City. Shout that you're the young master of Spring Breeze Brothel. Many beauties will come to play with you. If any of them really come to play with you, you'll have to endure it. Wang Kai shrugged and said faintly, What? Young Master Zhang's face changed. He never thought that Wang Kai would come up with such a vicious move. It was even more despicable than being sent to Spring Breeze Brothel as a young master. At least if he entered Spring Breeze brothel as a young master, he could still hide the truth. But now, how could he hide it? He couldn't say that the weather was too hot, so he deliberately ran around naked, right? Well, the followers behind you can come along as well. Don't think that the Zhang family can protect you. If you do, you'll be defying Ben Xiao's orders. You won't be able to imagine the consequences. Wang Kai shrugged and said indifferently, "Whoosh." Hearing this, young Master Zhang's pupils shrank. He did not know why, but he was inexplicably afraid. It was as if the young man in front of him really had the strength to do so. Young Master Wang, doing this will undoubtedly provoke the Zhang family. If a war breaks out, the head of the Zhang family is the 10th grade Great Sage. The middle-aged Taoist frowned and reminded Wang Kai through telepathy. The 10th grade Great Sage is nothing. If you have the guts, come and try it with Ben Xiao. I guarantee that you'll make him kneel and beg for mercy with one slap. Wang Kai snorted disdainfully. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Where did he get his confidence from? The middle-aged Taoist's face was full of worry. He was even more puzzled. He knew that he was no match for the 10th grade Great Sage, yet he still provoked the Zhang family. What was Wang Kai trying to do? What are you still standing there for? Do you want the Prince of Dogs to send you on your way? The Dog King glared and roared. Whoosh! Hearing this, young Master Zhang's body trembled. Looking at the many people around him, his face turned frighteningly gloomy. Chapter 1078. On the second floor of a tea house, by the window, Wang Kai and the others had almost booked the entire tea house, filling the entire second floor with seats. This brat is looking for trouble. Isn't he afraid of being laughed at by the people of Shura Emperor City? The middle-aged Taoist waved his horsetail whisk and shook his head helplessly as he looked at the Zhang clan's young master running away. I'm a young master of Spring Breeze House. Ladies, feel free to play with me. Woof, woof, woof. Run faster. Shout louder. On the streets, the young master of the Zhang clan was completely naked. While he was running around naked, his body was swaying, and he was shouting the same words over and over again. Behind him, the Dog King was like a disciplinarian. As he urged the Zhang clan's young master to run faster, he made him shout louder. The Zhang clan's young master was so embarrassed that he wanted to find a hole to hide in. However, since things had come to this, he would rather save his own life than save his face. He had planned to run back to the Zhang clan to ask for help. However, the Dog King was following him from behind, and he had no chance to escape. You brought this upon yourself. Wang Kai raised his teacup and took a sip. He smiled faintly. Seeing this, the corners of the Shur clan's mouths twitched. They couldn't help but think about how bad it would be if this happened to them. The more they thought about it, the more frightened they broke out in a cold sweat. In particular, the patriarch of the Shur family secretly rejoiced that he had not gone against Wang Kai in the Stone Divine Territories Wanshur City. The Zhang clan is one of the 4 great clans of Shura Emperor City. Won't it cause trouble for you if you play with a direct descendant of the Zhang clan? Even though she knew that Wang Kai wasn't afraid of anything, trouble still existed. Therefore, Ishu pursed her red lips and reminded him worriedly. Bai Yu, who was standing at the side, also expressed her agreement. She frowned and sighed. You shouldn't have done this. We have just arrived at Shura Emperor City, and we have yet to establish ourselves. Yet, we have already offended one of the 4 great clans, the Zhang clan. I'm afraid that this matter will be difficult to resolve. After all, Wang Kai's punishment was too cruel. It made the Zhang family lose face, and there was no room for redemption. The invisible giant scratched its head and said in a low voice, I think there's nothing wrong with what Master did. That brat was courting death. The fact that Master didn't take his life is already giving face to the Zhang family. Whoosh! As soon as he said that, Ishu and Bai Yu glared at him coldly. They glared at the invisible giant until he lowered his head and didn't dare to say anything else. What do you know? Humiliating him like this is worse than taking his life. Moreover, the Zhang family will definitely not sit by and do nothing. I'm afraid that they already know about this matter. Bai snorted in displeasure. So what if they know? Do you think we're afraid of them? Master, if the Zhang family comes later, leave them to me. The fire Xingyuan spirit said confidently. After coming to the Shura Emperor's city, it had been very excited. After all, there was hope for the transformation. The establishment of the fire world was even more imperative. Oof. If the great sage of the Zhang family doesn't come, you can do whatever you want. What if the great sage comes? Ishu snorted coldly. She despised the fire Xingyuan spirit's arrogance. If the great sage comes, won't there be Ben Shao? Ben Shao can make all the great sage kneel down and submit to him in a matter of minutes. Wang Kai shrugged and continued the conversation. His expression was very casual, as if the great sage was like an ant in his eyes. It was not worth his attention at all. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've gained 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Everyone, at first, Wang Kai was afraid of a 10th grade great saint, but now he was bragging. Everyone was speechless for a while, but even if they knew that Wang Kai couldn't defeat a 10th grade great saint, they didn't dare to say it out loud. They could only think it in their hearts. This boy's talent is indeed terrifying. In the Shura Emperor city of the Central Region, he might be ranked first. However, his realm is not enough to make him invincible in the Central Region. He is still so troublesome. If we continue to follow him, I'm afraid that before the Shur family can rise to glory, it will be destroyed first. The master of the Shur family frowned and secretly thought about it. As he thought about it, he became more and more worried. Wang Kai was really too worrisome. He was constantly courting death. The head of the Shur clan couldn't help but wonder how Wang Kai had managed to survive. Not only did he survive, but he had also reached the Great Sage realm. Although he had not reached the 10th grade, it was one of the strongest realms in the chaotic realm. It was unbelievable. Young Master Wang, I'm afraid you have other intentions? The middle-aged Taoist suddenly asked as he looked at Wang Kai. Swoosh! As soon as he said this, the rest of the people could not help but look at Wang Kai. If he had other intentions and deliberately did this, it would be much better. At least there would be a way out. Otherwise, why would he have other intentions? But if he did not have other intentions but just wanted to deal with a playboy, then the outcome, not to mention a way out, it would be better to say that he did not even know how to end the situation. No, I'm just teaching him how to behave. Don't think of Ben Shao as such a complicated person. Ben Shao has always been a very simple man. The only complicated thing is his feelings. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled calmly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. When everyone heard this, the corners of their mouths twitched. Even the middle-aged Taoist's face stiffened. He was deeply shocked by Wang Kai. This was clearly looking for trouble and courting death. To think that he thought so highly of Lin Fan. What are the people of the Zhang family thinking about? We have already run one round, and there is still no one coming? Wang Kai frowned and said impatiently. The young master of the Zhang family, who was running around Shura Imperial City naked and shouting, had already started his second round. However, the people of the Zhang family did not appear. Wang Kai was not the only one who was impatient and surprised. Even the young master of the Zhang family was getting more and more desperate. He had thought that the Zhang family would come to his rescue after making such a big commotion. Who knew that not only was there no rescue, but it was also quiet. However, the number of spectators had increased. Many of them were even walking in the air, following behind to watch the show. There is news from the Zhang family. They said that the idiot running around naked is not the young master of the Zhang family, Zhang Heng. The real young master of the Zhang family, Zhang Heng, is still cultivating in seclusion in the family. What? Not the young master of the Zhang family? F***CK. How is that possible? He's obviously Zhang Heng. That's right. Why is he not the young master of the Zhang family all of a sudden? As a loud shout was heard, everyone started to talk about it in confusion. When such words entered into the ears of the naked Zhang family's young master, it caused his expression to instantly become extremely unsightly. Chapter 1079. The asterisk M in it. Are you afraid of embarrassing yourself and don't want to recognize me anymore? Zhang Heng snorted coldly with an ashen face. Others might have doubts about his identity, but he was very clear about it. He was clearly a direct descendant of the Zhang family, Zhang Heng. However, the Zhang clan had announced that they would disown him. The meaning was self-evident. The Zhang family must have felt that this matter was too shameful. Even if they wanted to find trouble with Wang Kai and take revenge, they could only hold it in because it was too shameful. At the same time, Wang Kai and the others who were on the second floor of the tea house looked at each other, speechless. I have neglected this matter. The Zhang clan is one of the 4 great clans of the Sure Emperor city. The direct descendant of the Zhang clan is the most important direct descendant of the Zhang clan. Now that such a humiliating matter has happened to the Zhang clan, they can only suppress their anger. The middle-aged Taoist shook his head and laughed. In response to this, the rest of the crowd parted their mouths. The gloomy clouds instantly dispersed and were replaced by relaxed smiles. However, their expressions immediately turned ugly and nervous. Indeed, if this matter had happened in their clan, they would not have bothered to deal with it. But after thinking about it this way, although they would not come out to deal with it, they would definitely bear a grudge against Wang Kai in secret. Once there was any chance to deal with Wang Kai, the Zhang family would definitely not let it go. As one of the most powerful clans in the Godstone realm, how could a Sure clan not know this? Similarly, Bai Yu and Ishu knew this very well. Therefore, they did not smile. Compared to the enemy in the dark, the former was naturally much better. At least they would know when the enemy was going to harm them. However, the enemy in the dark would not let them know. By the time they made their move, it would be too late for them to retaliate. Young Master Wang, it seems like we have to be careful. Just as the 2 ladies have said, we have just arrived in the Sure Emperor city, and we have already offended one of the 4 great clans, the Zhang clan. This is not good. The middle-aged Taoist said calmly. Everyone agreed with him. However, they knew Wang Kai's character. Would he be honest? Because of this, everyone's gazes all turned to look at him. What's there to be careful about? Let's go to the Zhang clan. Suddenly, Wang Kai stood up and stretched lazily. Then he walked down the stairs. To the Zhang clan? Hearing this, everyone's faces stiffened. It was fine if the Zhang clan didn't come looking for trouble, but they actually wanted to take the initiative to look for trouble? Wouldn't this be giving the Zhang clan an opportunity to suppress them? Was there anyone who would court death like that? Wasn't this too much? Young Master Wang is indeed an extraordinary person. This humble Taoist is very impressed. The middle-aged Taoist waved his horsetail whisk and shook his head with a smile. He took the lead and stood up to follow. In response, Bai Yu and Ishu pursed their red lips. Helpless, they could only follow Wang Kai with worried expressions. Then, the invisible giant hurriedly followed. After they left, only the Sure family members were left on the second floor of the tea house. Master, are we going to follow him? This is going to kill us, right? That's right. If Wang Kai's cultivation is stronger, we'll be fine if we follow him. However, he definitely won't be able to defeat a 10th grade great sage. What's the difference between going and courting death? The few elders of the Sure family all frowned and voiced the thoughts of everyone in Sure family. Regarding this, the master of the Sure family also had a headache. If possible, they really didn't want to follow Wang Kai to the Zhang clan. However, if they didn't follow him, they would definitely provoke him. At that time, if the Zhang clan really couldn't do anything to him, what should they do when he returned and found that the Sure family didn't follow him? Now, the Sure family had no status in the central region at all. Even if they had 2 ancient sages and the rest were all experts of the sage realm, as the saying goes, a dragon must have a leader. Without a powerful existence of the great sage realm, it was completely impossible to establish a foothold in the Shura imperial city. Let's follow him and take a look. If Wang Kai really can't do anything to the Zhang clan, we only need to pretend to be passers-by. The master of the Sure family thought for a while and decided to stand up. Hearing this, although many experts of the Sure family were very unwilling, They had no choice but to follow the master of the Sure family suggestion because of the current situation. Woof, woof, woof. Master, that guy has finished 3 laps and is now walking towards the Zhang clan aggressively. It's worth mentioning that not a single woman was willing to play with him. Ha ha ha. In the end, the Dog King laughed out loud. Regarding this, Wang Kai, who had just walked downstairs, curled his lips and smiled. He wasn't surprised at all. Even if the Zhang clan had announced that this person wasn't a member of the Zhang clan, who in the city didn't know. The Zhang clan was just afraid of losing face and deceiving themselves. Due to the power of the Zhang clan, even if others knew, they wouldn't expose them. They could only pretend that they didn't know anything. Now that he's going back to the Zhang clan so brazenly, I'm afraid the Zhang clan will kick him out, right? The invisible giant scratched his head and said with a grin. Hearing this, everyone shook their heads and sighed. Indeed, the master of the Zhang clan was too impulsive. Just like when he provoked Wang Kai, he didn't think of the consequences at all. The Zhang clan had already announced that they didn't know him. If he still went back shamelessly, wouldn't he be looking for trouble? Let's go. Bin Xiao will bring you to show off. Watch how Bin Xiao wreaks havoc in the Zhang clan. All the beauties in the clan will throw themselves at him. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and said with a playful smile, Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. I'm just afraid that you'll be killed on the spot before you can even touch a beauty. Ishu and Baiyu snorted coldly in an extremely displeased manner. However, they did not say anything this time around. After all, they were clearly aware that Wang Kai could forget about picking up girls. Whether he could even stay safe and sound was another matter. Host, Wang Kai occupation, chaotic warrior, formation breaker realm, great sage, 9th grade cultivation method, divine connection, Daluo Vajra body, divine connection, chaotic million formation picture martial technique, divine connection, hand of the void, divine connection, formation breaker equipment, divine connection, chaotic sky swallowing halberd the power of God, divine connection pupil technique, divine connection, eye of the torch dragon bragging points, 7,800 experience, 100,000,200,000 on the street. Wang Kai followed the trail of the master of the Zhang clan all the way to the Zhang clan. At the same time, he secretly opened the page of the system and glanced at his current experience points. 100,000. I'm still short of 100,000. 5 more bragging points, and I'll reach the 10th grade Great Sage Realm. By then, the Zhang clan will only have a 10th grade Great Sage Realm. Ha! Wang Kai shrugged and smiled playfully. He activated his mind and closed the page of the system. Chapter 1080. Zhang Family Mansion. The entrance of the huge Zhang family mansion was extraordinarily spacious. Not only was there a red carpet on the floor, but the surrounding walls were also pasted with the word Shi. More importantly, there were 2 stone statues in front of the door. There was a dragon on the left and a tiger on the right. They looked extremely ferocious and classy. However, they had only seen stone lions in front of the door. Who would choose a dragon and a tiger in front of the door? This Zhang family is quite impressive. A dragon and a tiger in front of the door. Damn, a dragon and a tiger. Could it be a male and a female? Wang Kai frowned and said with a playful smile, A dragon and a tiger, a male and a female. Hearing this, the corners of everyone's mouth twitched. They did not know where Wang Kai got the inspiration to come up with such a sentence. If this was heard by the Zhang family, they were destined to have a great battle. Young master, you may not know this, but the Zhang family's famous unique skill is the body of dragon and tiger. It can transform into a dragon and soar in the 9 heavens. It can also transform into a tiger and travel around the world. The middle-aged Taoist waved his horsetail whisk and explained with a smile. Transform into a dragon and soar in the 9 heavens. Transform into a tiger and travel around the world. Damn, in the end, isn't he just a pretentious prick? Let's see if Bin Xiao can change it for him. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes as a mocking smile appeared on his face. Turning around, he raised his hand and swiped at the dragon stone statue on the left. Male dragon, Buzz. Then, 2 words appeared on the tiger statue on the right. Female tiger. I still need a comment. Wang Kai furrowed his brows and turned his gaze to the plaque of the Zhang family's mansion. He grinned and said, add 4 words behind the Zhang family's name. Truly barren. Buzz. Bang. In an instant, with a wave of Wang Kai's hand, 4 large words appeared behind the plaque with the words Zhang clan engraved on it. Woof, woof, woof. A dragon and a tiger, a male on the left and a female on the right. The Zhang family mansion is really barren. Wonderful. Master's literary talent is indeed outstanding. The Prince of Dogs is full of admiration for you. The Dog King pretended to glance at it, then immediately began to bark and praise it nonstop. He did not notice that Yishu and Baiyu, who were at the side, had black lines on their foreheads. The middle-aged Taoist and the other members of the Shi family were also speechless. After all, the residents before them belonged to one of the 4 great clans, the Zhang clan. Even if they didn't give them face, they couldn't just visit them and slap their faces like this, right? If this wasn't courting death, then what was? Everyone couldn't help but think, this time it was the Zhang clan. If nothing happened, what would happen next time? The only force that was above the Zhang family was the Azura Emperor Palace. If Wang Kai paid a visit to the Azura Emperor Palace and did something like this, everyone would probably die. Where did this bastard come from? Get out! Bang! Suddenly, following a loud shout, the young master of the Zhang family was sent flying out of the residence, screaming in pain. You're really not from the Zhang family? Wang Kai frowned and rubbed his nose speechlessly. Even if the Zhang family wanted to hide the truth and save their face, they didn't have to go so far. They really threw this brat out. I'll F*** king kill you. Swoosh. The young master of the Zhang family roared and crawled up with a sullen face. He waved his fists and attacked Wang Kai. Woof, woof, woof. Go back and continue to lie there. Bang. Plop. However, before the young master of the Zhang family could get close, his body was swept by the Dog King's tail, and he vomited blood and fell to the ground. This time, he fell to the ground in an even more miserable manner, twitching on the ground. Too pitiful, sigh. Seeing this, Wang Kai shook his head and sighed again and again. He casually glanced at the young master, stretched his body, and said, it seems like this brat really isn't from the Zhang family. If that's the case, let's go. That's right. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone from the Shi family nodded in agreement. Baiyu and Yishu also agreed. Whether this brat was from the Zhang family or not, they should leave this place as soon as possible. Otherwise, there would be more trouble later. I'm F** king from the Zhang family. It's all because of you. I'm not from the Zhang family anymore. Wah! As he shouted, the young master of the Zhang family sat on the ground and howled. His appearance could be described as miserable and sullen. If I tell you to lie down, then lie down. Why you have so much nonsense to say? Bang! Wah Baiyu and Yishu suddenly attacked, one on each side. The young master of the Zhang family was immediately sandwiched in the middle. His eyes rolled back, blood spurted out, and he fainted on the spot. This is the consequence of provoking master. This brat's luck is really bad. The Dog King swayed his tail and lamented. Do you think that the Zhang family is a match for Ben Xiao? Ben Xiao feels that the Zhang family is not on the same level as Ben Xiao. I'm afraid that they can't even withstand one blow from Ben Xiao. Wang Kai frowned and said with a surprised expression, congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Definitely not. Young Master Kai, you're so powerful. Who could be a match for you? Isn't that right, everyone? The master of the Shi family said. Yes, you're absolutely right. When everyone heard this, how could they not understand what the master of the Shi family meant? They immediately echoed loudly. Ben Xiao's power is indeed monstrous. He can turn the world upside down with one punch. These things are no longer new since Ben Xiao was born. The main thing is that Bin Xiao feels that the Zhang family is not convinced by Bin Xiao. Wang Kai frowned and said with a playful expression, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points." Swoosh. When this was said, everyone was stunned. They were completely dumbfounded by Wang Kai's words. What did he mean by the Zhang family not being convinced? From now on, no one from the Zhang family would come out. Why did it feel like Wang Kai was bragging? Little did they know that Wang Kai was bragging. Host: Wang Kai occupation: chaotic warrior, array breaker realm. Great sage, ninth grade cultivation method. Divine connection, Daluo Vajra body. Divine connection, chaotic million array portrait martial technique. Divine connection, hand of the void. Divine connection, array breaker equipment. Divine connection, chaotic sky swallowing halberd the power of God. Divine connection eye technique. Divine connection. I have the torch dragon bragging points. 8. 200 experience. 14000020000 after opening the system page and glancing at it. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled faintly. Dog King, go and call the Zhang family. Tell them that the overlord of the central region is here. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Woof, woof, woof. Okay, no problem. The Prince of Dogs swears to follow the master to his death. The Dog King shook his head and grinned. In the blink of an eye, he faced the gate of the Zhang family mansion and shouted loudly, "Bastards of the Zhang family, come out and welcome the overlord of the central region. Your Master Kai is here." Chapter 1081. How dare you? Where did you come from? How dare you challenge the Zhang family? Suddenly, a shocked and furious voice sounded out from within the Zhang clan estate. And this voice was like a thunderclap that droned and was extremely ear-piercing. Woof, woof, woof. F*CKU. Hurry up and come out. Stop yelling and acting all pretentious. The Dog King replied with disdain. On the way, he opened his mouth and spat out a green, chaotic energy, which flew directly into the Zhang family mansion. Bang! Rumble! Bastard! You're courting death. Immediately, under a series of shocking noises, more than a dozen Zhang family members, led by a middle-aged man, rushed out with angry faces. However, the moment they came out, they saw Zhang Heng lying on the ground. They looked at each other and could not help but feel strange. Even though he had been hit, it was not to the extent that he had fainted. Moreover, as a direct descendant of the Zhang family, Zhang Heng had treated him like this because he had lost face. After the matter was settled, he would be recalled to the Zhang family. The Zhang family is really bold. When you see Bin Xiao, the emperor of the central region, don't you know how to kneel down and greet him and serve him with good wine, good food, and treasures? Wang Kai frowned and snorted with displeasure. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. As soon as he said that, everyone present took a deep breath, especially those from the Zhang family. They widened their eyes and looked at Wang Kai in astonishment. They were all very curious. Where did this young man come from? It was one thing to challenge the Zhang family in front of the Zhang family, but how dare he be so arrogant in front of the Zhang family? It's true that a newborn calf is not afraid of a tiger. Boy, you want to die, don't you? The Zhang family elder snorted with disdain. The dozen Zhang family experts behind him also looked at him with disdain. They all thought that he was an idiot who had come to court death. How dare you? How do you talk to the master of the Prince of Dogs? Could it be that you bunch of idiots can't see that the owner of the Prince of Dogs is the hero who beat up that idiot? The Dog King raised its head and snorted in displeasure. Whoosh! Hearing this, the elders of the Zhang clan and the experts of the clan were startled. Their faces turned dark as they glanced at Wang Kai. Then, the person who made him run 3 laps around the Azura Emperor city completely naked was also you? The elder of the Zhang family narrowed his eyes and stared coldly at Wang Kai. His fists, which were hidden under his sleeves, were clenched so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. The person who had brought shame to the Zhang clan was standing right in front of him. Furthermore, he had delivered himself to his doorstep. More importantly, he had come looking for trouble. He was too arrogant. That's right. It's Ben Xiao. However, when you talk to Ben Xiao, remember to be respectful. You should know that Ben Xiao's temper has always been bad. This idiot has offended Ben Xiao. Ben Xiao is still angry with Ben Xiao. Who knows? He might destroy your Zhang clan at any time. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said proudly, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the next realm and reaching the rank 10 Great Sage Realm. Host, Wang Kai occupation, chaotic martial artist, array, breaking master realm. Great Sage Realm, rank 10 cultivation skills, divine connection, Daluo Vajra body, divine connection, chaotic million formation, image martial techniques, divine connection, hand of the void, divine connection, array breaking technique equipment, divine connection, chaotic sky swallowing halberd the power of God, divine connection eye technique, divine connection, eye of the torch dragon bragging points, 8,800 experience. Points, 050000. After hearing the notification and seeing the system page that appeared in front of him, Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He was neither happy nor embarrassed. He was both happy and worried. He was happy that he had reached the rank 10 Great Sage Realm. Other than the Shura sovereign of the Shura Emperor Palace, he was invincible. He was worried that his experience points had increased to a whopping 500,000. This also proved that if he wanted to break through to the next realm in the future, he would have to brag 25 times more. He is not a member of my Zhang clan. Therefore, I will not care about what you do to him. However, since you have the audacity to come to my Zhang clan and cause trouble, I will not forgive you. The Zhang clan elder snorted coldly. He was laughing coldly in his heart. Originally, he had not had the chance to cause trouble for Wang Kai. Now he had taken the initiative to come knocking on his door. Moreover, he had come in an extremely arrogant and suicidal manner. All right, stop acting tough. Is your holy lady here? Ask her to come out and meet Ben Xiao. Wang Kai shrugged and said indifferently. Now that he had reached the rank 10 Great Sage Realm, he naturally had nothing to be afraid of. Since that was the case, he might as well take a look at the so-called Holy Lady of the Central Region's Imperial City and see how beautiful she was. Do you know my miss? Swish. However, Wang Kai's question caused the elder of the Zhang clan to frown deeply. He looked at Wang Kai with a surprised and doubtful gaze as he asked. If they really knew each other, things would be difficult. After all, the Holy Lady represented the Zhang clan. She was the leader of the younger generation in the Central Region. *CK, there really is a Holy Lady. I thought there was something wrong with the Holy Lady and wanted to ask if the Holy Lady was here. Wang Kai touched his nose and smiled speechlessly. Of course I know her. Your Holy Lady is Ben Xiao's concubine. The two of us entered the bridal chamber 3 years ago. Ask her to come out quickly, Wang Kai said indifferently with his hands behind his back. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. What? Hearing this, the Zhang clan members' expressions changed greatly. You are a total bastard. Our Holy Lady has just turned 16. 3 years ago, you and you were courting death. The Zhang clan master was furious. The people behind him were so angry that their faces turned green. She has just turned 16 this year? Wang Kai was startled when he heard this, and his expression became awkward. He had just turned 16. If it was 3 years ago, wouldn't he have been 13 years old? *CK. That was a sin. Cough, cough. This young master, so-called, entering the bridal chamber is just a game. It's not as dirty and despicable as you think. Next time, remember, don't judge this young master of noble character and unquestionable integrity with the despicable eyes of the secular world. Otherwise, you will die very miserably." Wang Kai frowned and snorted with a rather displeased expression. He looked as if he was really angry. "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Don't talk nonsense with him. Elder, I will kill this guy." Buzz. In an instant, a young man in his 20s stepped forward. With a flip of his hand, he took out a long saber. With a flip of his body, he leaped and slashed at Wang Kai's head. "Woof, woof, woof. Son of a b****, are your fur all grown out? Don't you see the Prince of Dogs here?" The Dog King grinned and sneered. His body swayed, and he swung his tail and lashed it out. "Fellow cultivators, please read my new book, The Premium Choice System. It has reached 200,000 words. Thank you." Chapter 1082. Bam! Before the Zhang family youth could attack, he was hit by the Dog King's tail and flew back, coughing up blood. He crashed into the Zhang family elites. An immortal spirit of heaven and earth? A peak sage? At the same time, the Zhang family elder also saw the Dog King's true nature. That was why he was so surprised. He did not expect there to be an immortal spirit of heaven and earth at the level of an ancient sage. Logically speaking, the limit of an immortal spirit of heaven and earth should be the ancient sage. Only immortal spirits, or even protruding immortal spirits, could reach the sage realm and the ancient sage realm. Not bad. Old man, you have a good eye. The Prince of Dogs is indeed an immortal spirit of heaven and earth, and a peak sage realm immortal spirit of heaven and earth. There is only one Prince of Dogs in this world. Very impressive. The Dog King held his head high and said proudly. Arrogant. Hearing this and seeing the Dog King's arrogant look, the Zhang family elder's face turned pale. Even if an immortal spirit of heaven and earth at the sage realm rarely appeared, it was only at the sage realm. There were many people who could surpass the sage realm. By the way, I could have stepped into the great sage realm, but for some reason, I gave up the chance to transform and enter the great sage realm. Now, I'm only a peak sage realm immortal spirit of heaven and earth. Buzz. At the same time, the fire Xingyuan spirit slowly floated forward and introduced itself to the Zhang family members. Fire Xingyuan spirit? You are the fire Xingyuan spirit of heaven and earth that caused a commotion in the Divine Stone territory? You came to the central region too? The Zhang family elder's face changed slightly. He knew a little about the fire Xingyuan spirit, but he did not expect it to come to the central region and cause trouble for the Zhang family. If the Dog King was at the peak of the sage realm and was not worth his attention, but the fire Xingyuan spirit had to be taken seriously. After all, it was a true peak sage realm immortal spirit of heaven and earth. It was the kind of immortal spirit that could step into the great sage realm at any time. Of course, even if it attracted the attention of the Zhang clan's elders, it wouldn't bring him panic and fear. As an elder of the Zhang clan, one of the 4 strongest clans in the central region, his cultivation had naturally reached the level of the great sage. However, the Zhang family's elders were not in a rush to attack. Instead, they turned their gazes to the others. 2 ancient sage pinnacle cultivators, Stone Gambling Master. The rest of them are also Stone Gambling Masters, all of them in the sage realm. This giant clan, the sage-level invisible giant clan, the realms of these 2 women are much weaker. I can't see through this young man's true realm. How is this possible? Does he have a supreme treasure with him? After scanning through them one by one, the Zhang clan's elder had a rough idea of what was going on. Wang Kai and his group's realms were very strong. It could be said that other than the 4 great clans, the Holy Land of Array Formations, the Holy Land of Stone Gambling, and the strongest Azure Emperor Palace, they could be considered as the strongest lineup. If they were given a great sage realm expert to lead them, even if they couldn't be ranked within the 7 main forces, they could still be considered a second-tier force. Ranked 8th. After all, only the 7 main forces had a great sage realm expert. The other forces didn't have a single one. The strongest were merely the ancient sages. Kid, are you their master? Where are you from? The Zhang clan's elder placed his hands behind his back and looked at Wang Kai indifferently. Regarding the fact that he couldn't see through Wang Kai's cultivation level, the Zhang family elder was also very depressed. He just assumed that Wang Kai had a supreme treasure on him. Because of this, he really wanted to know where Wang Kai came from and who was supporting him. Otherwise, how could an ordinary young man have so many experts following him? More importantly, he had a supreme treasure that could hide his realm. It was definitely not something an ordinary family could possess. The Zhang clan's elder was a great sage realm expert. If he could hide from the great sage realm expert, he definitely wasn't weak. The Zhang clan's elder didn't even think that Wang Kai could hide from prying eyes by relying on his extremely high realm. What a joke. How could a young man reach the great sage realm? I've told you many times that the master of the Prince of Dogs is the overlord of the Central Region, a universe master who controls the entire Chaos realm. His realm is even higher than the Azura sovereign master. The Dog King raised his head and said proudly, "A universe master of the entire Chaos realm." The corners of everyone's mouths twitched slightly when they heard these words, especially the Zhang clan's elder, whose face turned ugly. In the Chaos realm, even the Azura sovereign master, who was a rank 11 great sage realm expert, called himself a domain master. He wouldn't be so arrogant as to call himself a universe master. Although the Azura sovereign master's strength was enough to be a universe master, the important thing was that he knew how to be humble. Judging from your attire, you should be from the Shur clan, the overlord family of the Stone Domain, right? The Zhang clan's elder turned his gaze and asked the Shur clan members. Combined with the appearance of the fire Xingyuan spirit, it only took a little thought to figure out the Shur clan members' origins. Yes, I'm a Shur clan master. The Shur clan master stepped forward and bowed with his fists clasped together. Why are you being so respectful? Can't you see that we're about to fight? The Dog King glared at him and scolded him angrily. The Shur clan master was embarrassed. For a moment, he didn't know whether to retreat or advance. He couldn't afford to offend either side. The overlord family of the Stone Domain must have unique skills in stone gambling. Since you're here, I'll ask if you're willing to join the Zhang clan. As long as you nod, the Zhang clan will give you the position of clan elder. Your status is only below the clan master and the other elders. The Zhang clan master smiled faintly. Clan elder. His status was only below the clan master and the other elders of the Zhang clan. As soon as he said that, the Shur clan master's face tensed up. His eyes showed that he was tempted. As one of the 4 great clans, the Zhang clan had all kinds of power distribution. For example, the most powerful clan master, the elders below him, and then there were many branch elders, guest elders, deacons, and so on. If he could become a clan elder, he would undoubtedly be the 3rd most powerful person in the Zhang clan. His status and power were frighteningly high. He would be able to gain a foothold in the Central Region in one leap. This, the Shur clan master didn't dare to agree directly. Instead, he secretly looked at Wang Kai and the others. Seeing that they were all expressionless, as if they didn't hear him, he was even more tempted. At this moment, the Dog King didn't say anything else. He didn't even look at the Shur clan master. What's your decision, clan master? Don't worry. With the Zhang clan's protection, no one in the Central Region would dare to hurt you. The Zhang clan master naturally saw the reason for the Shur clan master's hesitation. He immediately hinted and threw out an olive branch again. Clan master, let's agree. If we follow Wang Kai, we'll be played to death by him sooner or later. Clan master, I think we should agree. This way, our Shur clan can instantly become a famous clan. Just as the Shur clan master was tempted, the Shur clan elder's voice transmission sounded in his mind. Chapter 1083. Good. Thank you for your kindness, Elder Zhang. The Shur family is willing to join the Zhang family. Finally, the head of the Shur family couldn't hold it in anymore. He knelt on one knee and cupped his fists. Greetings, Elder Zhang. At the same time, the other elders of the Shur family also knelt on the ground. They were equally excited, as if they had picked up a treasure. Ha ha, not bad, not bad. Get up and come over here. The Zhang clan elder narrowed his eyes, nodding his head in satisfaction as he laughed heartily. With a wave of his hand, he turned his gaze towards the invisible giant, Fire, Saint Yuan Ling, and the two girls beside Wang Kai. As the Shi family stood behind Elder Zhang, he smiled again. Invisible giant, Fire, Shun Yuan spirit, and you, true spirit of heaven and earth, are you willing to join the Zhang family? As long as you join us, I can guarantee that I can help you. The Fire Saint's origin spirit, take human form. I can help you, the invisible giant, dominate the giant soldier region. I can help you, the true spirit of heaven and earth, become a sacred spirit. Also, our previous conflict will be resolved as a misunderstanding. Whoosh! As the elder of the Zhang family finished speaking, everyone present held their breaths. The actions of the Zhang family's elders were clearly trying to bring everyone over, and he was trying to poach them in front of their master. Go F***ck yourself. Let the Prince of Dogs join the Zhang family? Do you think the Zhang family has that right? A bunch of baskets. You'll be crying later. The Dog King raised his head and snorted disdainfully. The invisible giant also raised his hand and scratched his head. He said in a muffled voice, a bunch of idiots. From the day I followed my master, I never planned to betray him. Even if I die, I won't. Trash of the Shi family. Just you wait. I'll slap you to death one by one. When the invisible giant finished speaking, the Fire Xingyuan spirit also gave a very simple reply. He pointed the spearhead at the Shi family. This situation caused the Shi family members to tense up. What they were afraid of was naturally not the Fire Xingyuan spirit, but Wang Kai. The head of the Shi family knew very well that Wang Kai was a true great sage expert. If he wanted to kill them, it would be a piece of cake. However, the Zhang clan's great sage was a 10th-rank great sage. Therefore, after weighing the pros and cons, the head of the Shi family decided to defect to the Zhang family. These two young ladies, do you have? Elder Zhang was not angry when he heard this. Instead, he looked at Yishu and Baiyu with a smile. However, before he could finish speaking, Yishu and Baiyu coldly interrupted him. Don't waste your time. I'm Wang Kai's wife. First wife, Yishu said coldly. I am Wang Kai's legal wife. Even if I die, I won't regret it. Baiyu glared at Yishu unhappily. She raised her arm and hugged Wang Kai's arm. Yishu was also very angry at this. She clenched her teeth and hugged Wang Kai's other arm tightly. Haha, the two young ladies are so loyal. This elder admires you very much. But I wonder if you are willing to join my Zhang family? Suddenly, Elder Zhang's gaze turned and looked directly at Wang Kai. Also, he threw out an olive branch. This situation immediately caused the Shi family members to be very worried. Although they were gemstone gambling masters, their cultivation level was very weak. How could they be compared to Wang Kai, who was a great sage expert? Once Wang Kai agreed to join the Zhang family, no one in the Shi family would have an easy time. However, their worries were all unnecessary. There are idiots every year, but there are especially many this year. Dog King laughed coldly. They are indeed a little stupid. They are asking for death. Invisible Giant scratched his head and said, Fire Xingyuan spirit, Yishu, and Baiyu did not say much. They knew very well that Wang Kai, who had been silent all this time, was definitely filled with killing intent. Not only did he try to poach Master in front of him, he even wanted to poach Master in the end. It had to be said that this Elder Zhang really did not know how to spell the word death. Are you talking to Ben Shao? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. After a long silence, he finally opened his mouth and smiled. Swoosh. Towards this, the Zhang clan elder smiled warmly and nodded. No slap. Bang. Wah. However, before the Zhang clan elder could finish speaking, his face was swiftly slapped by Wang Kai with a flip of his hand, causing his flesh to be ripped apart on the spot. His body was even viciously smashed onto the ground. What level are you? Where did this tramp come from? Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders. He flipped his hand and waved it at Elder Zhang, who was vomiting blood nonstop. Under a huge force, Elder Zhang's body floated over. Wang Kai grabbed him by the neck and squeezed him hard. You, cough cough, you are the great sage. At this moment, Elder Zhang finally came to his senses. His eyes widened as he looked at Wang Kai in disbelief. He had never imagined that such a young man could reach the level of the great sage. Moreover, it was the level of the great sage that had surpassed him. No matter how hard he struggled, he could not break free from Wang Kai's grip. This situation caused Elder Zhang to be extremely terrified. At the same time, everyone from the Shi family was inexplicably shocked. They all swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and their bodies began to tremble. They secretly prayed that the master of the Zhang family would quickly appear. Otherwise, the Shi family would all die here. Now you know how powerful the master of the Prince of Dogs is, right? Old thing, you're quite a pretentious prick. You've been blabbering nonstop. F***CKU. Bang! Crack of the Dog King snorted disdainfully. He opened his mouth and bit off one of Elder Zhang's legs. The intense pain and the spilling of blood caused Elder Zhang to be in extreme pain. He screamed continuously. You don't need this side either. Puff! At the same time, the invisible giant also took action and tore off the other leg of Elder Zhang. No! No! Elder Zhang was in so much pain that he went crazy on the spot. However, no matter how hard he struggled, he could not break free from Wang Kai's grip. He could only endure the intense pain with veins popping out on his forehead. It was extremely torturous. You don't need this arm either. Puffa. However, all of this wasn't over. Fire Saint's Yuan spirit also shot out 2 balls of flames, directly burning the 2 arms of the Zhang family elder to nothing. When it was Yishu and Bai Yu's turn, even if they wanted to help, they could not. Moreover, this bloody scene made them feel disgusted and turned their heads away immediately. Are you at the same level as Ben Shao? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and asked expressionlessly. No, please let me go. Let me go. Elder Zhang screamed in agony. When he looked at Wang Kai, his heart was filled with despair, fear, and regret. If he could do it all over again, he would not be so stupid as to provoke him like this. However, there was no such thing as a second chance in this world. Thank you, friend, for the reward from the 7-inch obsession of the 3-inch-old city. Chapter 1084. Let you off? Weren't you so arrogant just now? Wang Kai squinted his eyes and tightened his grip. The elder's face turned purple, and he opened his mouth to beg for mercy. However, he could only whimper hoarsely. My friend, you should spare people whenever possible. Leave a way out for your future. Spare your ass. Bang! As an aged voice rang out, before he could finish speaking, Wang Kai had already clenched his fist and crushed the body of the Zhang clan's elder on the spot. Such a scene caused the expressions of the Zhang clan and the Shi clan to change greatly. They all looked at Wang Kai in horror. The elderly voice was silent for a long time. It was as if it was angry, but it was also as if it was choked to the point that it did not know what to say. In short, it was extremely quiet in front of the Zhang family mansion. It was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Come out, clan head of the Zhang family, rank 10 great sage? Could it be that you want this young master to invite you? Wang Kai shrugged. He lifted his blood-covered hand and gazed into the depths of the mansion with a playful smile. The elder was full of confidence, as if he was the ruler of everything. Other than the strongest person in the Zhang family, the clan head of the great sage realm, no one in the Zhang family would dare to speak like this. After all, the cultivation he displayed was that of the great sage realm. Clan head of the Zhang family, help. Plop. In an instant, under the leadership of the clan head of the Shi family, many powerful people from the Shi family knelt on the ground with pale faces. At this moment, they were terrified and in despair. Wang Kai was simply too ruthless. Even when the Zhang family's patriarch spoke up to stop him, Wang Kai didn't hesitate at all. Instead, it encouraged Wang Kai to take the life of the Zhang family elder even faster. At this time, the Shi family could not help but think, if the Zhang family elder was dead, what were they? Would the clan head of the Zhang family care? Just like the dead Zhang family elder, the Shi family also began to regret. They deeply regretted it. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Now, he could only grab hold of the Zhang clan's patriarch, this life-saving straw. Help! Who can save you? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and sneered with disdain. Then, he said indifferently, Bin Xiao showed mercy and brought all of you to the central region. As long as you were loyal enough, let alone the Zhang family, even Bin Xiao could let all of you surpass the Zhang family. Unfortunately, all of you were not resolute enough and even betrayed the Zhang family. Tell me, do you all deserve to die? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Whoosh! Hearing this, everyone from the Shi clan looked hopeless. It seemed like they wouldn't be able to survive this. Wang Kai had already made up his mind to kill, and the head of the Zhang clan was not going to protect him. Endless sorrow and despair lingered in the hearts of the Shi family members for a long time. At this moment, they were very regretful. Very regretful. Young Master Wang, we were forced to do this. This elder from the Zhang clan secretly sent us a message and threatened us. In order to better cooperate with you, we pretended to betray you and waited for an opportunity to strike. An elder from the Shi clan suddenly said loudly. Whoosh! Hearing this, the eyes of the Shi clan's patriarch lit up. He quickly kowtowed and said, That's right, that's right. Young Master, please believe us. Young Master Wang, please believe us. The Shi clan is loyal to you. We will never betray you. Then, everyone from the Shi clan kept kowtowing and explaining. Their tearful faces made Wang Kai's face turn even colder. Shameless indeed, Ishu said with an indifferent expression. Well, he is indeed very shameless. There is no need for such a person to live. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a rather indifferent expression. Woof, woof, woof. Leave it to the Prince of Dogs. Me too, I can't stand such despicable people. How stupid. Just as the Dog King was about to attack, the invisible giant and the fire Xingyuan spirit followed closely behind and charged towards the Shi clan members. No, no. Patriarch Zhang, save us. Patriarch Zhang, we are willing to help the Zhang clan. Ah. Bang. Rumble. Just as the Shi clan members saw that Wang Kai was determined to kill them and changed their words to plead with the Zhang clan patriarch, the Dog King, the fire Xingyuan spirit, and the invisible giant smashed them into pieces before they could finish their words. F***CK. After failing to plead with the master, you change your words back to the old bastards of the Zhang clan. You all deserve to die. The Dog King snorted disdainfully. Regarding the deaths of the Shi family members, whether it was Wang Kai or the Zhang family members, they were all extremely indifferent. In fact, the Zhang clan members even had a carefree look on their faces. Such fence-sitters deserved to die tragically. No one pitied them, and they didn't deserve to be pitied. Snap! Wang Kai stretched out his hand and snapped his fingers. He looked mockingly at the Zhang clan members and smiled faintly. Your patriarch doesn't dare to come out. Bin Xiao is the most powerful person in the central region, so he naturally won't make things difficult for weaklings like you. However, the Zhang clan is indeed cowardly. You all should leave the Zhang clan. Let's go. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Where are we going? Are we not fighting anymore? Yeah, we haven't gotten the goddess in a bed yet. The Dog King and the invisible giant looked at each other and said in confusion. You two don't want to live anymore, do you? Ishu and Baiyu's eyes turned cold as they reprimanded them. The Dog King and the invisible giant were scared out of their wits. They smiled awkwardly and didn't say anything else. Of course, we're going to find a good place to start a sect. The Zhang clan has admitted defeat. Even the patriarch of the Zhang clan, the rank 10 great sage, doesn't dare to show his face. Since that's the case, what are we still doing here? Let people off whenever possible. A powerful person will never beat up a cowardly son of a bitch. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled faintly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. That's true. The Dog King nodded and left in agreement. Only the Zhang clan members were left. They looked at each other, their faces flushed red and full of humiliation. The patriarch of the Zhang clan was a cowardly son of a bitch who didn't dare to show his face. The Zhang clan admitted defeat. As a member of the Zhang clan, one of the four great clans, when had they ever suffered such humiliation? However, it had happened today. No matter how unwilling they were to believe it, it was the truth. The Zhang clan had been thoroughly defeated. It wouldn't be long before the news spread throughout the central region, and they would become the laughing stock of the world. A rank 10 great sage young man. He's only 18 years old. Who is he? That damn brat. At the same time, in the depths of the Zhang clan's mansion, an old man with white hair roared with a gloomy face and a cold gaze. This time, the Zhang clan had lost a lot of face, and so had he. However, he had no choice. Even if he showed up, he might not be a match for Wang Kai. He might even anger the other party and be killed on the spot. At that time, the Zhang clan would be doomed. Therefore, he didn't show up and could only endure. Chapter 1085. How dare you threaten the Prince of Dogs? Do you really think you're a big shot? The Dog King snorted in disdain. He glanced at the flaming Xunyuan spirit with disdain and ignored it. In response, the invisible giant scratched his head and did not say anything. If you don't hand over the transfiguration method, I will remove all your fur, throw you into a pot of oil, cook you, and feed you to the dogs. The flaming Xunyuan spirit said coldly. What? Whoosh! The Dog King jumped when he heard this. All his fur stood on end as he stared at the flaming Xunyuan spirit with a ferocious expression. Not only did it have to remove all his fur, but it also had to throw him into a pot of oil and cook him and feed him to the dogs? Even the invisible giant was shocked. No matter what, the flaming Xunyuan spirit's method was too vicious. If you don't want to do that, hand over the transfiguration method quickly. Otherwise, I won't be able to stop you in time if you beg for mercy and change your mind. The flaming Xunyuan spirit said coldly. How dare you? The Dog King was furious. He glared at the flaming Xunyuan spirit and kept barking. He was really angry and wanted to fight to the death. Why wouldn't I dare? Buzz. Suddenly, the flaming Xunyuan spirit gathered its flames and formed a huge fireball. It took the shape of a pot and went straight for the Dog King. F*CKU. It's for real. Seeing this, the Dog King was shocked. At first, he thought that the flaming Xunyuan spirit was just scaring him. But now, that was not the case at all. Elder Yiba family, Yiba Yun, is here to greet young Master Wang Kai. Buzz. Suddenly, a loud voice rang out, and the fire Xunyuan spirit's movements suddenly froze. The Dog King and the invisible giant were also stunned. Fight against the aristocratic families? Could it be one of the four great clans? Are you here to curry favor with Master after hearing the news? What do you mean by fighting an aristocratic family? Bin Xiao has never heard of it. Get out of here. At the same time, Wang Kai, who was having a good time in the room, responded in an extremely displeased voice. Now that it was a critical moment, how could they have the time to care about the aristocratic families? As for whether or not the visitor was from one of the four great clans, Wang Kai didn't even consider it. On the first floor of the inn, more than a dozen members of aristocratic families, wearing black robes, looked at each other awkwardly when they heard this. It was one thing for one of the four great clans to take the initiative to pay him a visit, but not only did the other party refuse to meet him, he even arrogantly ordered him to leave. If Wang Kai's cultivation wasn't so strong that even the head of the Zhang family didn't dare to confront him head-on, the members of the aristocratic families would have been enraged. Who is that guy called Wang Kai? How could he make the members of the aristocratic families bow down to him like this? Are you ignorant? Wang Kai is only 18 years old. As soon as he arrived at the Shura Imperial City, he humiliated the direct descendant of the Zhang clan. Then, He went to the Zhang clan and killed the Zhang clan's elder. Even the Zhang clan's patriarch didn't dare to show his face. What? There's such a thing? Oh my God. He's only 18 years old, and he can make the Zhang family, one of the four great clans, bow down to him? This is unbelievable. What is this? Don't you see that the members of the aristocratic families are standing there awkwardly? He. Around them, many cultivators were discussing in low voices. When they first came here with the members of the aristocratic families, they thought that there would be a good show to watch. Now it was indeed lively. The crowd couldn't help but wonder if the members of the aristocratic families would end up like the Zhang family. If that was the case, 2 out of the 4 great clans would be defeated by Wang Kai. Elder, why should we shut up? Just stand there obediently. If you dare to say anything more, you will die. Just as one of the experts from the Yifu aristocratic family spoke in displeasure, the old man leading the group, Elder Yifu Yun, berated and interrupted him with an extremely cold expression. If they offended Wang Kai, not only would they fail to achieve their goal, they would also bring disaster to the aristocratic families. Wouldn't that be asking for more trouble than gain? Wouldn't that be asking for trouble? Young Master Wang, this old man is an elder of one of the 4 great clans, the Yibo clan. My name is Yibo Yun, and I've come today to deliver a gift. I hope young Master Wang will kindly accept it. Elder Yibo Yun cupped his fists and smiled warmly. His attitude was extremely respectful, as if he was talking to the head of the family. Such a subservient and servile manner made the young disciples of the aristocratic families behind him feel rather displeased. Even though they knew that Wang Kai was powerful and could make the Zhang family not dare to fight him head-on, he was still an 18-year-old youth. Moreover, the aristocratic families weren't weaker than the Zhang family. In fact, they were much stronger in some aspects. As members of the younger generation, they were proud and arrogant. Naturally, they couldn't stand Wang Kai's arrogant attitude. Here to give you a gift? In the room, Wang Kai, who was holding onto Baiyu's legs, paused for a moment. He squinted his eyes and said with a playful smile, "People of the 4 great clans actually know how to be a grandson, coming here to give you a gift to curry favor with Ben Shao. It seems that Ben Shao is too awesome now. Soon, even the Azura Emperor Palace will have to bow down to him. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Got it. Put the things down. Ben Shao will send someone to get them later. You can leave now." As Wang Kai's voice was transmitted, Elder Yin felt increasingly embarrassed when he heard it. Anger also rose in his heart. However, no matter how angry he was, he could only endure and endure. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Damn it. This elder told you to shut up. Get lost. Bang. Rumble. In an instant, just as a young disciple was about to open his mouth and curse, Elder Yun's heart was greatly alarmed. He hurriedly and angrily turned around and fiercely sent out a slap. The disciple was sent flying out of the inn, vomiting blood. Seeing that there was no movement on the 2nd floor, Elder Yibian was relieved and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. The disciple had already fainted on the street. When he was slapped, he realized how much of a threat Wang Kai was to the Yibian family. However, it was too late. That kid is quite lucky. That's right. If Elder Yibian didn't stop him in time, he would be dead. Not only will he die, the Yibian family will also suffer. Seeing this, everyone mocked and laughed in disdain. Since young Master Wang has important matters to attend to, this old man will not disturb you any longer. I only hope that young Master Wang can visit the Yibian family when he is free. This old man will take his leave." Elder Yibo Yin cupped his hands together and bowed. Soon after, he left the inn with an expressionless face. Chapter 1086. After the first batch of families left, 2 more families took the initiative to visit Lin Huang. They even brought a lot of gifts. However, they did not manage to see Wang Kai in person. They could only leave their gifts on the 1st floor of the inn and respectfully invite Wang Kai to be their guest before leaving. This was not the end of it. Not only did 3 of the 4 great families visit Lin Huang, Even some of the big and small forces in the city came to visit him. Their purpose was very simple. They wanted to curry favor with Wang Kai. There were also some who wanted to rely on him. However, the end result was the same. They left their gifts and left. Even if Wang Kai did not show up, no one dared to say anything. Countless rare treasures were piled up on the first floor of the inn. It looked like a small mountain. Many onlookers were envious of the treasures. This Wang Kai is too awesome. Sigh yes. At such a young age, he made the 4 great families submit to him. They even took the initiative to send him gifts. Any one of these treasures is not something that we can use. Comparisons are odious. Many cultivators looked at the gifts with shining eyes. Their hearts were itching. However, no one dared to touch them. They did not even dare to go closer to take a look. They were afraid that they would offend Wang Kai and cause him to be displeased. This would bring disaster to them. Azura Emperor Palace's chief deacon, Tian Hor Reverend, is here to discuss something with Wang Kai. If you hear me, come down quickly. I am very busy with my official duties. Suddenly, a loud voice was heard. An old man in a black robe walked into the inn slowly with his hands behind his back. He looked at the treasures on the ground with disdain. Azura Emperor Palace's chief deacon, Tian Hor Reverend, is here too. However, he did not bring any gifts. Not only did he not bring any gifts, but his attitude is also very arrogant. Haha, there will be a good show to watch now. Given Tian Hua Zunja's attitude, if Wang Kai doesn't come down, I don't think he'll come down. The people from the 4 great aristocratic families are all the grand elders of their clans. Aside from the clan head, he's the #1 expert. His gifts are all top-notch treasures, and his attitude is extremely respectful. But this heavenly flame paragon, although Tian Hua Reverend's cultivation isn't low, he's still much weaker than the elders of the 4 great clans. His status is also much lower. The reason why he has such authority is because he's from the Azura Imperial Palace. A mere deacon. Everyone squinted their eyes and thought to themselves, looking forward to a good show. Even though they had guessed it, they did not dare to say it out loud. After all, it was extremely easy for Tian Hua Zunja to take the lives of anyone present. Moreover, there was no one to reason with. The Azura Emperor Palace was just that tyrannical. He had the right to be domineering. F***CK, you're just a deacon. How dare you ask Ben Shao to go out and meet him? Are you F***king in the wrong place? F***CK off. One idiot. Swoosh. Suddenly, just as everyone was looking forward to it, Wang Kai's voice came from the guest room on the 2nd floor. Moreover, it was filled with disdain and impatience. Not only were the people dumbfounded, even the person involved, Tian Hua Zunja, was stunned. For a moment, he thought that he was hallucinating and had heard wrongly. He had never expected Wang Kai to be so rude and arrogant. Presumptuous. Do you know that I'm a deacon of the Azura Imperial Palace? Aren't you afraid that the Azura Imperial Palace will punish you for your arrogance? Tian Hua Zunja frowned and scolded with a cold expression. Swoosh. After Tian Hua Zunja's rebuke, everyone's nerves tensed up. They felt as though their breathing was going to stop. How many people are in the Azura Imperial Palace? What's the point of being a deacon? And that Azura Imperial Palace, is he the one who gave you the guts? Let me tell you bluntly, it's useless. Take advantage of the fact that Ben Shao is in a good mood and get out of here quickly. Don't F***king beat you until you kneel and beg for mercy. Wang Kai, who was in the room, had just finished his fun. Before he could even put on his clothes, he heard such provocative words. His face immediately turned cold. Even if the Azura Imperial Palace was the ruler of the chaotic world, it depended on who he was acting tough with. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Bastard. You're such a bastard. You're just a little kid. How dare you disregard the Azura Imperial Palace just because you have some talent? Just you wait. I'll definitely report this to the Imperial Palace and send you to hell. You'll step into reincarnation and become a beast. Oomph. After Tian Hua Zunja finished speaking, he turned around and was about to leave. Even though Wang Kai was so arrogant and he was furious, he knew that he was no match for Wang Kai. There was no point in staying in a stalemate. Wait, isn't it too late for you to leave now? Buzz. However, as Wang Kai was neatly dressed and pushed the door open, he immediately waved his hand and unleashed a terrifying pressure. It directly froze Tianhua Zunja, who had yet to step out of the door. In an instant, Tianhua Zunja broke out in cold sweat. He wanted to struggle, but he realized that he couldn't move at all. It was as if there was a mountain pressing down on his back. It was torturous. Wang Kai, don't go overboard. Once you provoke the Azura Imperial Palace, you know the consequences. Consequences, my asterisk SS. Slap. Plop. Suddenly, Wang Kai's figure flashed and appeared in front of Tianhua Zunja. He waved his hand and slapped Tianhua Zunja. Tianhua Zunja's body was sent flying and smashed onto the ground. Even a few teeth were spat out along with fresh blood. What about me? I gave you face, but you didn't want it. Since that's the case, you don't deserve it. Bang! Ah! Wang Kai's foot suddenly stomped down after his voice sounded. He directly stepped on Tianhua Zunja's face. Immediately, he moved his foot and twisted Tianhua Zunja's face until it was disfigured. Fresh blood flowed everywhere. It was a miserable sight. Hearing Tianhua Zunja's miserable shriek and his miserable appearance, the surrounding people couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. When they looked at Wang Kai again, they were filled with fear. At the same time, the crowd didn't have the slightest bit of sympathy for Tianhua Zunja. It was because Tianhua Zunja had brought this upon himself. If he had been as respectful as the grand elders of the four great clans, he wouldn't have ended up in such a state. Unfortunately, he relied on the fact that he was a deacon of the Azura Imperial Palace to do whatever he wanted. He deserved it. I gave you face and treated you as a human. If I didn't give you face, you're nothing. The Azura Imperial Palace is the ruler of the primal chaos world. Haha, I'm not afraid to tell you that the seat will be replaced sooner or later. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and sneered with disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Chapter 1087. Don't worry, Ben Shao won't kill you. I'll let you see how Ben Shao will destroy the Shura Emperor Palace. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders. His expression was quite indifferent as he smiled. He lifted his leg and kicked towards Tianhua Zunja. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Bang! Cough, cough. Tianhua Zunja was so embarrassed that he rolled on the street. His face was beyond recognition, and he could only vomit blood. He couldn't utter a single word. Go back and tell the Shura Emperor Palace to behave themselves. Maybe you can live a few more years. Otherwise, you'll choke to death when you eat. Those who provoke this young master have never had a good ending. Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and waved his hand impatiently as if he was shooing away a fly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Just you wait. Tianhua Zunja couldn't say anything. He could only send a message to Wang Kai and leave behind some vicious words before he quickly fled. Iota Towery, Big Guy, Fire, Xingyuan Spirit. Check these things and remember who sent them. If you meet them in the future, give them some face. Of course, beat them up if you don't like them. Wang Kai said indifferently. Woof, woof, woof. The master of the Prince of Dogs is really awesome. I think I can hear the cries of the people who sent the gifts. The Dog King and the Invisible Giant looked at each other and laughed. You'd better hand over the transformation method as soon as possible. You won't have such a good opportunity next time. The Fire Xingyuan Spirit snorted and flew out to collect the gifts. The Invisible Giant followed closely behind and looked at the dazzling array of treasures on the ground. It was as tall as a small mountain, and it was really envious. It seems like I should tell the master about this matter. Damn it, it's making the Prince of Dogs uncomfortable. Faced with the threat of the Fire Xingyuan Spirit, the Dog King was extremely annoyed. In the past, he didn't want to break through quickly, but now it seemed that he needed to speed up his progress. Master, the fire Xingyuan spirit insists on looking for the Prince of Dogs. It wants to have sex with you. It's going crazy, the Dog King said telepathically. Hmm? Upon hearing this, the corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched slightly. He could not help but glance at the flaming Xingyuan spirit. Even though he was looking forward to seeing how peerless Xingyuan spirit would be after his transformation, to be honest, he was a little tired of it. After all, Fire Xingyuan's spirit style was no different from man's. In fact, she was even more violent than some men. Looks like I have to help him develop the fire world as soon as possible. As for the matter of transforming, it will depend on his own luck. Wang Kai shrugged and thought to himself, rather speechlessly. Even if he could help with this matter, now that he thought about it carefully, he couldn't help. Then he'll find trouble with the Prince of Dogs. Master, let the Prince of Dogs use some of these treasures, okay? When the Prince of Dogs reaches the peak of the ancient sage realm, there's no need to be afraid of him. The Dog King said telepathically. Wang Kai didn't care about this at all. Even though these treasures were very high grade, he really didn't care about them. He shrugged and smiled faintly. You can use them as you wish. There's no need to tell me. Hee. Thank you, Master. The Dog King was overjoyed when he heard this. He grinned and huffed. His eyes shone brightly as he dove into the pile of gifts. He kept everything that he could use, not leaving a single one behind. When the Fire Xingyuan spirit and the invisible giant saw this, they didn't feel that anything was wrong and continued to count the gifts. At the same time, in the Azura Emperor Palace, Tianhua Zunjia, who was heavily injured and had changed beyond recognition, came back and knelt on the ground. He sobbed and cried incoherently. However, the three old men in the main hall frowned when they heard this. They were very annoyed. Use telepathy. Tiana Zunjia reacted and quickly said through telepathy, "Three sovereigns, that damn brat Wang Kai didn't agree to befriend our Azura Emperor Palace and wasn't willing to meet the sovereign. He even said that the Azura Emperor Palace is trash and the Azura sovereign is also what?" The expressions of the three old men changed drastically upon hearing these words. One of them even flipped his hand and threw a slap forward, directly sending Tianhua Zunjia tumbling a couple of times. Is this something you should say? Remember this next time. Bang, bang, bang. Tianhua Zunjia was terrified. He quickly kowtowed while sobbing. Martial King, what should we do? Martial King, if you ask me, who am I supposed to ask? The two old men looked at each other with ugly expressions. In the end, they looked at the white-robed old man behind them. Heavenly Cloud King, do you have any ideas on this matter? This matter might not be what Tianhua Zunjia said. It's better to report this matter to the sovereign and see how he will deal with it. Heavenly Cloud King said indifferently. There's no need to report it. Buzz. Suddenly, a deep voice sounded. An old man in a golden dragon robe appeared in the main hall. The Emperor Palace doesn't need liars. You could die now. Buzz. As soon as his voice fell, the Azura sovereign's eyes turned cold. Tianhua Zunjia, who was lying on the ground, exploded. Tianhua Zunjia didn't react until he died. Wang Kai had spared his life, but in the end, he couldn't keep it. Sovereign, do you mean that Tianhua Zunjia has been lying? He wants to deceive us and make us enemies with Wang Kai? Martial King asked with a frown. Yes, he was too arrogant and provoked Wang Kai. He was humiliated, but his life was not harmed. Azura's sovereign said indifferently. Swoosh. Hearing this, Wu Wangzuan and Zhan Wangzuan looked at each other and slowly heaved a sigh of relief. If that's the case, Wang Kai is quite sensible. He didn't dare to offend the Azura Emperor Palace and intended to spare Tianhua Zunjia's life. Martial King said with a satisfied smile. That's good. Martial King nodded gently. Even if he's afraid of the Azura Emperor Palace, his words are still extremely presumptuous. However, considering that he's still young, we won't punish him for this matter. Tianyun, go and invite him to the Emperor Palace. Buzz. As soon as the Azura sovereign finished speaking, his figure disappeared into thin air. Martial King and Martial King quickly cupped their fists and bowed. Hee, Heavenly Cloud Sovereign, you must succeed. Martial King and Martial King looked at each other and smiled playfully. If the Heavenly Cloud Sovereign could end up like Tian Huazunja, it would be interesting. The Heavenly Cloud Sovereign ignored the two sovereigns' teasing. He stroked his beard and walked away. Could he be the Wong Kai that Father mentioned in the message? If he is, Heavenly Cloud Sovereign's eyes flickered. Chapter 1088. After leaving the Azure Emperor Palace, Reverend Skycloud arrived at the inn where Wong Kai was staying. However, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. The entire inn had been booked by Wong Kai, and he was currently playing mahjong on the first floor. There were also a few people around him watching the show. Although Reverend Skycloud didn't know what Wong Kai and the others were playing, the power contained in the mahjong tiles shocked him. Even the weakest of them was at the ancient sage realm, and there were even some at the peak of the ancient sage realm. With a glance, there were a total of 108 mahjong tiles. Cough, cough. Although it's not as fun as the east, south, west, and central tiles, it's still passable. If there's a chance, I should get some chaos spirit tempering stones. Wong Kai narrowed his eyes and thought helplessly. In front of the table were Bai Yu, Yishu, and the invisible giant. The fire Xingyuan spirit was leaping back and forth at the side, watching the show. Even though he wanted to learn and play, mahjong was also a saint spirit. Since they were both saint spirits, their powers restrained each other. A single touch would cause a huge battle. As for the Dog King, it had already disappeared with the treasures. When it reappeared, it would definitely be terrifyingly strong. Young Master Wong, I am the Azure Emperor Palace's Reverend, Gu Tianyan. Patter. Just as Gu Tianyan's voice fell, Wong Kai's movement stiffened. At first, he didn't want to pay attention to the person who had come, so he simply ignored him. However, he didn't expect him to call himself Gu Tianyan. You're from the 100 Formations region. Wong Kai frowned and looked at Gu Tianyan. Yes, I am. My father sent a message and mentioned young master. Gu Tianyan cupped his fists and bowed slightly. So, it's the Chaos World's #2 array master. Seeing this, Wong Kai's eyes narrowed slightly. This saved him a lot of trouble. Reverend Skycloud. We pay our respects to the Reverend Skycloud. Unlike Heavenly Flame Reverend, when this person appeared, everyone bowed respectfully. Wang Zun's status was simply too high. Within the Azure Emperor Palace, the Martial King Ancestor and the Battle King Ancestor were on par with him. Seeing this, Wong Kai's lips curled up slightly. Gu Tianyan seemed to be doing pretty well in the imperial city of the central region. Fire Xingyuan Spirit, come and help Ben Shao play a few rounds. Wong Kai shrugged and said indifferently, but if I touch them, they will. The Fire Xingyuan Spirit said hesitantly, It's fine. Ben Shao has already given them the order. You can have fun. Facing this, Wong Kai waved his hand and instantly brought Gu Tianyan up to the second floor. When everyone saw this, they were extremely surprised. They didn't expect that such an arrogant person like Wong Kai would actually receive Gu Tianyan. You can enter the Kunlun realm, right? In a guest room, Wong Kai sat on a chair with his legs crossed and asked, That's right. I've entered it once. Unfortunately, it's difficult for us mortals to survive in the land of the gods. I'm already very lucky to be able to return alive. Gu Tianyan replied without any hesitation. In this regard, Wong Kai narrowed his eyes slightly and secretly thought for a while. Even if he wanted to go to Kunlun realm, he had to wait until he had reached the 11th grade of the Great Saint realm, or even completely transformed into the realm of the gods. Otherwise, if he rashly entered, he would only be courting death. After all, the Kunlun realm was a place where the gods lived. Wong Kai couldn't estimate how strong the gods were. However, he was clear that he was no match for them. You don't have to return to the Azure Emperor Palace. Follow Ben Shao. Soon, Ben Shao will go to the Kunlun realm. You just have to lead the way. Wong Kai shrugged and said indifferently. There was no room for doubt in his tone. Hearing this, Gu Tianyun smiled bitterly and shook his head. Naturally, he had already guessed that Wang Kai would ask him to bring him to the Kunlun realm. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint young Master Wang. It's true that I can enter the Kunlun realm, but I'm not free. Without the sovereign's orders, I can't easily leave the Azura Emperor Palace. Gu Tianyun shook his head and said, Azura, sovereign. Wang Kai snorted disdainfully and said indifferently, Don't worry. With Ben Shao around, a mere Azura sovereign is nothing. You can play him to death however you want. It's very simple. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Gu Tianyun smiled awkwardly. Naturally, he didn't believe Wang Kai's arrogant words. If the Azura sovereign was so easy to defeat, the primal chaos realm would have had a new master long ago. The Azura sovereign's array Dao is number 1 in the primal chaos realm. In addition to his cultivation, both of them are extremely strong. He won't be easy to deal with. Gu Tianyun said indifferently. Buzz. As he spoke, Gu Tianyun waved his hand and threw out a few black spirit-tempering stones. After arranging them around him, he stood with his hands behind his back and smiled faintly. Black chaos spirit-tempering stones? Used to set up an array? Why are you setting up an array here? Wang Kai frowned and asked in surprise. Could it be that this old man wants to fight with me? Young Master Wang, please don't misunderstand. The Azura sovereign ancestor can hear our conversation. That's why I set up a magic array to block the sovereign ancestor's prying eyes. At the same time, I won't let him discover anything strange. Outside the magic array, there's another Yunai talking about the Azura sovereign palace, Gu Tianyun said indifferently. Whoosh! Hearing this, Wang Kai's pupil shrank. Setting up an array to create an illusion to deceive the Azura sovereign's prying eyes? TSK, you old man, you're quite good at showing off. On one hand, you said that the Azura sovereign's array Dao is number 1 in the primal chaos realm. On the other hand, you set up an array to deceive the Azura sovereign. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled playfully. In response, Gu Tianyun stroked his beard and shook his head with a smile. His array Dao is indeed powerful. However, the main reason why he surpassed me wasn't because of his array Dao. It was because of his cultivation. You should know that I can't cultivate. Haha, how about it? Do you want to join hands and destroy the Azura sovereign? All right, does he have any concubines? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked playfully. Gu Tianyun's expression suddenly froze. He was speechless as he said, The sovereign doesn't have any concubines. He's always been single. As for destroying him, I'm afraid that I can't do it. You can't do it, but Ben Shao can. As long as you agree to follow Ben Shao will destroy the Azura sovereign and hand over the primal chaos realm to your father, Gu Jun. He'll be the sovereign that rules the primal chaos realm. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a faint smile. Whoosh! Hearing this, Gu Tianyun was stunned. After a long while, he shook his head and sighed. I'm afraid that my father doesn't have the fortune. Even if he succeeds, he doesn't have the ability to protect his country. Chapter 1089. Gu Tianyun did not expect Gu Tianyun to have some self-awareness. Gu Tianyun did not become arrogant just because of his status in the Shura Emperor Palace. Don't worry, with Ben Shao around, the primal chaos realm, a place as small as a bird's egg, will be no different from an imperial edict. Wang Kai shrugged and said with an indifferent expression, Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. A place as small as a bird's egg? Presumably, only someone like Wang Kai would be able to say something like this, right? It was said that the strong were different from the rest. It seemed that this was indeed the case. I wonder what young Master Wang's current realm is? The Shura Emperor said that you are the youngest great sage grade 10 expert. Is this true? Gu Tianyun asked with a frown. The Shura Emperor said it? Hearing this, Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly. He hadn't expected the Azura sovereign, whom he had never met before, to be so concerned about his affairs. Great Sage Grade 10? No, no, no. Benshao's true realm is far stronger than the Great Sage Grade 10. Let me put it this way. The Primal Chaos realm can no longer accommodate Benshao. In the Kunlun realm, he is considered a superior god. Wang Kai shrugged and said with an indifferent expression, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points." Hearing this, Gu Tianyun was stunned. For a moment, he did not know what to say. Wang Kai was too good at bragging. His bragging was simply unconvincing. If young Master Wang is really a Great Sage Grade 10 expert, or even higher, then listen to me and take the God's Relic at the entrance of the Kunlun realm. Gu Tianyun said indifferently. God's Relic? There is such a place. Wang Kai was stunned and asked with surprise. Due to the system, Wang Kai didn't really care about the inheritance of ruins. Everything inside was useless to him. However, since he was preparing to go to the Kunlun realm and experience what it was like to be a god, it did not matter if he learned about the gods in advance. That's right. Originally, in the Chaos realm, the strongest was the Great Sage, who was at the 9th level. However, after the God's Relic appeared, all the great forces obtained the remnants of the divine techniques and reached the 10th level of the Great Sage. Gu Tianyun said with a sigh. Gu Tianyun also yearned for the things inside the God's Relic. He wanted to obtain the ability to cultivate through the treasures inside the God's Relic. Unfortunately, after coming to the central region, he had no choice but to do what he wanted to do. Through the remnants of the divine techniques left behind by the gods, he obtained the ability to cultivate to the 10th level of the Great Sage. Then, what about the Shura Sovereign? He has already reached the 11th stage of the Great Sage, hasn't he? Wang Kai shrugged and asked curiously. The Shura Sovereign. When Gu Tianyun heard this, he shook his head and smiled. Back then, he was just an ordinary cultivator. He was able to achieve what he has today because he ventured into the God's Relic. With his luck, he obtained an inheritance. After cultivating for a few hundred years, he broke through the God's Relic and came out. Furthermore, he took back all the remnants of the divine techniques obtained by all the factions and ruled the Chaos realm. When Wang Kai heard this, the corners of his mouth twitched. He could not help but rub his nose. He thought to himself, this Shura sovereign is really something. His luck is also shocking. When he reached the strongest level, he would monopolize all the remnants of the divine techniques and control them. He would even take in the powerful factions under his command. Without the remnants of the divine techniques, he would not be able to step into the God's Relic. From this, it was clear that in the entire Chaos realm, only the Shura Sovereign had reached the 11th stage of the Great Sage. What was the reason for this? The God's Relic is controlled by the Shura Sovereign, and no one is allowed to enter. Yet, you are saying that you want Benshao to snatch it. Do you want to see a great battle between Benshao and the Shura Sovereign? Wang Kai frowned and said with a playful smile. If Xiao Chen's current level was really stronger than the Shura Sovereign's, then so be it. However, the problem was that he was not as strong as the Shura Sovereign. Now, Xiao Chen had bragged too much and climbed up the stairs quickly. How was he going to get down? That's right. Since young Master Wang has such ability, I think that we should snatch the God's Relic. Furthermore, there is something inside that will be of great use to us when we go to the Kunlun realm. Gu Tianyun said with a serious expression. What is it? Wang Kai asked in surprise. The Fushi medallion. Fushi. Damn, there really are Fushi? Wang Kai's interest was immediately piqued. If there are Fushi, then there must be Nuwa. If there was Nuwa, then there must be Pangu, right? Wang Kai had always wanted to meet these people from the mythological era. At that time, he could also talk to them about bragging. Naturally, there is. The Fushi medallion is the supreme medallion of the Fushi tribe. If one can obtain this medallion, they will have the qualifications to enter the Fushi tribe and obtain the inheritance of Fushi. The Shura Sovereign has always wanted to obtain it, but he was never recognized by the Fushi medallion. Thus, he seized the god's relic to prevent it from falling into the hands of others, Gu Tianyun explained. Wang Kai was already shocked by this. A tribe of the Fushi tribe, one of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, the earliest king. The ancestor of humanity. After Pangu split open the sky, it was formed from a part of Panga's body. Where's the location of the god's relic? Ben Shao wants to go in and take a stroll, Wang Kai said indifferently as he shrugged. I'm afraid that's not possible for now. The Shura sovereign's original body is guarding there every day, trying to obtain the Fushi medallion. If we want to go, we have to wait for him, my ass. Even an idiot like the Shura sovereign doesn't need to do anything when he meets Ben Shao. Ben Shao can make him disappear with just a few words. Wang Kai stood up and said impatiently, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Then we should still avoid it. If something goes wrong, we won't be able to obtain the Fushi medallion. Avoid my ass. Hurry up and lead the way. If Ben Shao doesn't show his might, do you really think that Ben Shao is bragging? Don't even talk about one Shura sovereign. Even if there were 100, 1,000, or even 10,000 of them, they wouldn't be enough for Ben Shao to kick." Wang Kai waved his hand and said indifferently, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points." Hearing this, Gu Tianyun still felt a little uneasy. It was impossible to guess which part of Wang Kai's words were true and which were false. However, due to Wang Kai's urgency, Gu Tianyun could only nod his head and agree. "All right, I'll bring you there. However, before that, you have to create a fake doppelganger to deceive the Shura sovereign's doppelganger." Chapter 1090. Shura Sovereign's Doppelganger. Hearing this, Wang Kai felt that it was very troublesome. However, he knew that now was not the time to act tough. If the Shura sovereign really knew that he was going to the god's relic, he would be intercepted before he could even reach his destination. Thinking of this, Wang Kai shook his head and said helplessly, "Forget it. Since you are so slow, Ben Shao will satisfy you. Actually, you don't have to care so much about the Shura sovereign. In Ben Shao's eyes, he is just a basket. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points." Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai waved his hand and created a doppelganger with his primal chaos energy. Due to the system, it was impossible for the Shura sovereign to find out if it was real or fake. However, when Gu Tianyun saw this, he still felt that it was not safe. He said, "Young master, please wait a moment. I will use a formation to wait my ass. If you continue to dawdle, Ben Shao will slap you." Wang Kai said impatiently with a dark face. With the system, even the gods would not be able to see through it, let alone the Shura sovereign. Since that was the case, what was there to worry about? All right, I will set up a teleportation formation. It can reach the edge of the god's relic. I have already set up a concealment formation there, Gu Tianyun said. In response, Wang Kai waved his hand and ignored him. He began to secretly transmit his voice to Bai Yu, Ishu, and the others, telling them the actual situation. At the same time, Bai Yu and the others, who were playing mahjong, paused for a moment. However, they quickly regained their composure. They knew that Wang Kai was going to snatch food from the Shura sovereign's mouth. If there was even the slightest mistake, he would be doomed eternally. Therefore, no matter how worried they were and how much they wanted to follow, they could only endure it. Buzz. Then, a ray of light flashed from a room on the second floor. Everyone was very confused when they saw this. Looks like Master is sparring with that old man about the Tao of array formations. The invisible giant reacted quickly. That old thing's Tao of formations is still far from Master's. The fire Xingyuan's spirit echoed in disdain. When the crowd heard this, they came to a sudden realization. Soon after, they no longer paid any attention to it, and continued to watch the exciting Mahjong showdown. At the same time, Wang Kai, who was a few million miles away from Shura Emperor City, secretly communicated with the system. Host: Wang Kai occupation, Primal Chaos Warrior, Array Breaker Realm, Great Sage, 10th grade, Cultivation Method, Divine Connection, Daluo, Vajra Body, Divine Connection, Primal Chaos Myriad Formation Portrait, Martial Technique, Divine Void Hand, Divine Command Formation Breaking Technique, Equipment. Ascension, Primal Chaos Heaven Swallowing Halberd the Power of God, Divine Ocular Technique, Divine Illumination, Torch Dragons Eye Bragging Points, 12,000 Experience, 320005000000. I'm still 180,000 experience points away. At least I need to brag 9 times before I can reach Great Sage level 11. At that time, I won't have to be afraid even if I go head-to-head with the Shura Emperor. Wang Kai casually glanced at it and activated his mind to close it. Even though he wanted to get the Fushi token and learn more about the gods, Wang Kai was not so arrogant as to ignore the Shura Emperor. He still had to take precautions. At least he would know when he could reach level 11, Great Sage level. Is this where the god's relic is? Damn, isn't this what this young master made when he was playing with mud back then? Wang Kai frowned as he looked around at the endless mountain range and said indifferently, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points." Hearing this, Gu Tianyun was clearly stunned. He said helplessly, "Young Master Wang, this is not where the god's relic is. It's just at the edge. We have to pass through the mountains to reach it." "Damn, what's the difference?" "I'll tell you frankly that the god's relic was left behind by Ben Shao. The Fushi token was also left behind by Ben Shao to find an outstanding successor. Unfortunately, no one was able to get it. As such, Ben Shao could only take it back." Wang Kai shook his head and sighed. "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Let's go." Does young Master Wang have a way to hide? It's best if we can avoid being discovered by the Shura Emperor. Of course, under normal circumstances, he won't pay attention to the outside world. He'll only notice when we get close to the god's relic. However, to avoid unnecessary trouble, F***ck me, why are you so slow? Isn't it just the Shura Emperor? How many times has Ben Shao said that he's just a basket? You won't even have a chance to make a move against Ben Shao." Wang Kai said impatiently with a dark face. "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience points and 200 bragging points. Then where are we hiding? We'll just walk through the air." "Shura Emperor, hurry up and get out of the god's relic. Give up this place, pa." Suddenly, Gu Tianyun's attitude changed greatly. He actually shouted loudly. This situation immediately caused Wang Kai's face to darken even more. He slapped Gu Tianyun's mouth. F***ck, your grandpa. Are you trying to act tough in front of me?" The corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched. His expression was filled with displeasure as he coldly snorted. As he spoke, he had already brought Gu Tianyun into the mountain range. "Haha, don't worry, young Master Wang. Just now, I already used a concealment formation. Other than the two of us, no one else will be able to detect us. Even the Shura Emperor won't be able to." Gu Tianyun stroked his beard and smiled confidently. Whoosh! Hearing this, Wang Kai's face instantly turned ashen. His eyes were filled with anger as he glared at Gu Tianyun. After all this time, he was actually tricked by him. He had always tricked others, but now he was actually tricked. And he was even a trash that couldn't cultivate. When there's an opportunity, I'll introduce you to an awesome person. He's called Lu Tian. His inheritance is also very awesome. It specializes in attacking people's backsides. When the time comes, you'll properly enjoy it. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes as he grinned with a ridiculing expression. Lu Tian specialized in attacking people's backsides. Whoosh! Once these words were spoken, Gu Tianyun felt his backside tighten. He was so scared that his old face suddenly trembled. "Haha, Gu Tianyun, It seems that your rebellious heart still hasn't changed. Wang. Suddenly, a deep voice sounded. An old man stood in the void above them with an expressionless face. Shura, Emperor, you. Seeing this scene, Gu Tianyun turned pale with fright. He never thought that the Shura Emperor would actually discover him. Moreover, he discovered him so early. He's the Shura Emperor? On the side, Wang Kai's eyes instantly narrowed. He also never thought that he would meet the Shura Emperor so quickly. Chapter 1091. That's right. Looks like we're in trouble. Gu Tianyun frowned. He never thought that the Shura sovereign would discover them so quickly. Now that they were trapped here, it was impossible for them to leave safely without a fight. Now, they could only place all their hopes on Wang Kai. If he couldn't defeat the Shura sovereign, only death would await him. Trouble my ass. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled disdainfully. With his hands behind his back, he looked at the Shura sovereign in the sky and said, "Come down, kneel on the ground, and kowtow to Ben Shao. If you are respectful, Ben Shao will spare your life." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Whoosh! As soon as this remark came out, the Azura Sovereign Master was stunned for a moment before he burst into laughter and said, "Interesting, very interesting. I didn't expect a little boy like you to still have such courage in the face of death." Gu Tianyun, who was standing to one side, had a rather ugly expression on his face. He did not expect that Wang Kai would still be able to boast at such a time. "Shura Sovereign, you have controlled the god's relic for many years. The Fushi token does not recognize you. Even if you continue to occupy it, it will be useless. Why don't you hand it over and let Master Wang try? Maybe he can take you with him when he sets foot in the Kunlun realm." Gu Tianyun said in a deep voice. "Impudent," the Shura sovereign snapped. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he snorted coldly and said, "The Fushi token belongs to me. No one can touch it. Since you brought this ignorant brat to sneak into the god's relic to cause trouble, you have betrayed me. I won't let you live. Die, Buzz." As soon as he finished speaking, the Shura Sovereign Zune waved his hand and slapped down. Under the attack of the terrifying chaotic force, a giant cyan saber slashed down on Yishuan's head. "Then let's fight. Wild Dragon Array. Kill. Roar. Roar." Upon seeing this, Gu Tianyun didn't show any signs of weakness. With a shake of his body, a gigantic octagonal array appeared under his feet. It sparkled with rays of blue radiance. As a few dragon roars rang out from the array, two gigantic golden dragons appeared. They opened their mouths in fury and flew up. Bang, 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 bang. Rumble. Boom. In the blink of an eye, the berserk dragon and the huge saber collided. Waves of primal chaos energy exploded in the sky, shaking the space and causing it to crack open. PFFF. Whoosh. Whoosh. However, Gu Tianyun, who had never practiced martial arts, was still no match for the Shura Sovereign's aura. After only a few breaths of time, the mad dragon was defeated and dissipated. Gu Tianyun's body spat out blood as he rapidly retreated. His complexion instantly became extremely pale. Divine connection, primordial heaven, swallowing halberd. Wang. At the same time, Wang Kai flipped his hand. The moment he finished speaking, a halberd that was shining with seven-colored light appeared in his hand. The moment the halberd appeared, it emitted an extremely terrifying aura. Gu Tianyun and the Shura Sovereign were shocked. Their pupils shrank, and they looked extremely shocked. Divine aura. It's actually divine aura. Is your halberd a divine artifact? The Shura Sovereign shouted in shock and anger. Divine aura? Upon hearing this, Wang Kai slightly squinted his eyes. He held the sky-devouring halberd in his hand and shook it. He said indifferently, "Ben Shao only used it to barbecue meat. He rarely uses it to fight. Why are you so surprised?" Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Whoosh! As soon as he heard this, the Shura sovereign's face turned extremely pale. The halberd that emitted the aura of a divine god was actually used to barbecue meat. What a reckless waste. Divine connection, primal chaos, million formation image. Wong. Divine connection, Daluo Vajra body. Wong. Divine connection, torch dragon's eye. Wong. S. Divine connection, the power of God, soul of Fushi, descend upon my body. Rumble, rumble, crackle. At that instant, following Wang Kai's roar, thunderous clouds began to rumble in the nine heavens, as lightning flashed, causing the entire sky to darken instantly. In the darkness, Wang Kai's body shone with a golden light. That was the protection of the Daluo Vajra body. Above his head, a huge 10,000 formation image floated, exuding a sharp formation breaking technique. However, this was not the end. The most terrifying thing was Wang Kai's eyes. At this moment, one was black and the other was white. They shone with a gloomy, terrifying, and holy light. You are the first person who can force Ben Shao to use all his means. Wang. As soon as Wang Kai finished speaking, a transparent, handsome man appeared behind him. A long zither floated in front of him, exuding a faint but terrifying divine aura. This man was wearing a cyan robe and had a head of white hair. His face was extremely handsome, and his 10 fingers were as slender as a woman's. He gently stroked the zither as he looked indifferently at the Shura sovereign Zun standing opposite him. Fushi. It's the Fushi divine god. Or are these all divine artifacts? Who are you? Your eyes. I think I saw the torch dragon in the god's relic. Evil dragon's eye. Are you the reincarnation of the torch dragon? Shouts of fear reverberated throughout the void. The Azura sovereign venerate had already sunk into a state of extreme madness. Gu Tianyun was stunned. At this moment, Wang Kai looked like a real god descending upon the world. He was high and mighty and unstoppable. Fushi looks like this? F*CK. Compared to Ben Shao, you are too weak. Wang Kai turned around and glanced at the Fushi divine spirit. He immediately curled his lips in disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. Whoosh! As soon as he said this, the Fushi divine spirit's gaze turned and fixed on Wang Kai. After staring at him for a while, the corners of his lips curled up into a smile. However, Wang Kai, who had turned around, did not see the smile on the Fushi divine spirit's face. Otherwise, he would have thought that the Fushi divine spirit had come back to life. However, the Shura sovereign and Gu Tianyun, who had been staring at the Fushi divine spirit, saw it clearly. They were so frightened that their faces turned pale. No, this is impossible. This is impossible. The Shura sovereign swallowed his saliva. The previously arrogant and insufferably arrogant Shura sovereign was now filled with shock. His eyes were filled with fear and panic. The Shura sovereign had seen the Fushi divine statue in the god's relic. Moreover, Wang Kai had also seen the torch dragon's eyes in the god's relic. It was the strongest evil dragon. One was the Fushi that dominated the Kunlun realm and ruled over the gods. The other was the most powerful evil dragon's eyes that caused chaos in the Kunlun realm and instilled fear in the gods. Now, they were both in Wang Kai's body. How was he supposed to fight this? How was he supposed to fight this? Shura's sovereign, kneel on the ground and kowtow to Ben Shao. Call him Master Kai, and let Ben Shao strike you with his halberd. Then, this matter will be over. Otherwise, you know the consequences. Wang Kai shrugged and coldly stared at the Shura sovereign with his black and white eyes. Although Wang Kai looked like he was smiling, his black and white eyes made people's hair stand on end. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 20,000 experience and 200 bragging points. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.